We are non-public at 5:14, and the minutes are not sealed, right?
There we go.
Correct.
Correct. Moving on to changes and additions, no, work session.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on to the work session on the personnel policy.
Okay, so I'm just looking to see if Linda's
Nobody has joined yet.
yet. Okay. So just to review, we are now on like page 24.
Is this one anyway?
We're at the permanent part-time employees benefit section. And when we left the last meeting, we had said that we were gonna revise the, Keats had made that chart that showed what benefits, permanent part-time benefits would cost the town.
Yeah.
The old chart had included in it things that everybody already gets, like workers' comp and things, but, so this is the stripped-down version that she gave us. So the bottom line for vacation, sick, and personal, if we were to grant all three of those, would be just about 16,000, just under 16,000 for the employees we have right now who currently fall under the permanent part-time definition. So we wanted to share that. Let me also just tell you about process, because I don't know if we said this when we left. I did not go back and make a draft change with all the feedback from the first half. Keats and Elaine had given information that was sent to all of us in an email, or at least Keats had. I didn't incorporate that into anything, so the plan is that we'll finish up tonight, because we'll get through this draft, taking in whatever comments, and I will then edit the draft, so we have a clean copy. Then I think that once we've agreed on things, like I think that we should decide what we want to keep in it, or add or take away. And then I'll do a clean copy, send that to Anna in legal, who's the HR person, personnel person, and then we'll get her feedback, and then we'll come back for another work session, looking at the revised copy. Because there's gonna be, Elaine and Keats have given a lot of specific information that was shared in emails, and once that comes in, it's gonna look at, so I don't think we're voting today. I don't think it makes sense to vote today.
Right.
Unless we absolutely, so for instance, permanent part-time benefits is where we left off because it was gonna be a bigger discussion. If we decide we definitely don't want that in there, and that's a unanimous decision, then we should take that out and not bother to have legal look at that. But the rest of the things that are kind of like fine-tuning points that we've kind of gone through before, I think we should keep those in there because they're fine-tuning and they're not, it's really this part-time benefits that's a significant addition to our personnel policy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Doing it that way? And then we'll look at it again, and we won't vote on accepting the whole thing until we've got the clean, legal approved copy that's at least one more work session's worth of tweaking.
Yeah.
So we're not close yet. Does that make sense? So we are page 24, 25.
Yeah.
I don't know if she gave you copies. You can look up.
Did you guys bring your copy?
I forgot mine.
Oh,
We're
okay.
sharing, we forgot
They can
his.
share, we can share.
Okay.
Yeah?
Linda is on the phone.
Oh, is she?
Into this meeting.
Trying to come in?
I'm not seeing her on here. It's just, it doesn't show her as having joined.
It's a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does she want to join by phone?
She says there's no Zoom link. She just texted me there's no Zoom link.
It's the, she should
You're
go
not
on the
signed into Zoom.
website.
Is that a problem?
What?
It says you're not signed in.
To Zoom?
Me?
At the top, it says sign in.
Well,
She said she doesn't think there's a link on the website.
oh, well, that's strange.
She says it's not there on the website.
Huh.
I think she said it's not there on the website.
That's interesting. It's always just permanently there. I could call Becky and see if she can put it on.
But is it possible that you were not signed in?
That I'm what?
That you're not signed in?
I mean, it does say Town of Tamworth on the image, so that's interesting, but that could just be,
I got in the same way I always do. Like I don't.
you should be able to go to the Zoom homepage and get the meeting link.
So let's see. The Zoom homepage. Yes. Let me get this. Go to my account.
So many tabs open. It's
I was gonna
really
say, why
crazy.
there's so many tabs open?
The link is this one. I can email it to her for now, but we also need to get it on the. Oh, do I have email on this?
Wait, so I can just tell her the meeting ID number,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
Hang on a second.
but I need to get it on the website so people like June and Jim
838.
can join.
4033.
Not June and Jim.
4033.
6477.
No,
Six,
no,
seven,
6744. I'm dyslexic.
I am dyslexic, you're right.
6744. 838
I always have to reread
403
it, like I say it and then I read it
36744.
and then I correct it.
Oh,
That's correct.
are
Is
you
that right?
really?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Not something to joke about.
Let me call Emily and get her to put
Does
it
she
on.
need the passcode?
It was really fun being a machinist
She should
reading prints and
be
having to
able
take 5
to
minutes to reread
just.
the numbers.
It's only
again,
waiting.
but
Oh no.
Burned me a couple times.
Somebody's been
Yeah.
in here.
I work for,
There's
a
never.
contractor
I don't
in
ask,
engineering
actually ask
school.
for passcode, and
And,
it's saying
he
that I
was
do. So how do I
told
change
me.
that?
790205.
It's weird with me, like, sometimes it flips,
Seven.
sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
I have a friends that have it bad, and it flips all the time.
oh, wow.
Call Emily Varney. Why don't you guys go ahead and do your thing, and I'll try and figure it out.
Well, let me have Linda at least on speakerphone because she's the other member of the committee.
Yeah.
While we get this going.
Hello.
Hi, I'm just putting you on speakerphone until we get the Zoom fixed so we can go on with the meeting.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I've been trying to get on, but I haven't seen the.
No, we want you here, so there you go.
Alright, I'm gonna try calling
All right.
Becky.
So as I'm writing this down, see if I can try and go in from Zoom.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And I'm outside.
So,
Can I ask you a quick question?
yeah.
And I know you've already hashed this over, but I didn't see it in Keith's draft either. On page 19, and I know you've already done this.
That's okay.
Oh, sorry, 18.
Yeah.
When you talk about benefits for full-time employees,
Yes.
you talk about accruing,
Yeah.
and then you talk about continuous service 1 to 5 years. So does that mean they're not going to accrue until they've been here a year, or they're going to accrue at .0 they start, and they'll have 2 weeks by the time they get to the end of the year?
Where's which paragraph are you looking at?
Right under vacation.
Benefits under the big print, benefits full-time employees.
Okay.
Says
Vacation
vacation is accrued on a weekly basis. And then years of continuous service 1 to 5. So do you want that to be 0 to 5 or?
ID.
Linda, you're talking on speakerphone in the middle of the meeting.
Sorry.
Okay.
Talking to a computer.
Okay, so you're saying,
I just wasn't sure.
does it not accrue until 1 year? Is that what
I
you're
wasn't
asking?
sure what your intent was. If people are gonna get vacation that they can use in the first year of service, that should actually say 0 to 5.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
There was a note
And-
in there after 90-day review somewhere.
Yes.
Right, and I think historically it's been 1 to 5.
Yeah. And that is
Maybe
meant
just put
to.
on mute.
I'm putting you on mute, Linda.
Or without.
Take it off
She
and
has
Just
her.
mutes you.
Oh, she's on there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that the intent was that you start accruing upon your review, so it would be 0.5.
Oh, upon the, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I think it says during, like, once you get your,
whatever the first one is.
whatever
says.
your,
6
first, yes, is it 6 months? Was it 60 day?
I know we definitely talked about that.
Yeah. But it's meant to be after your first positive review. So
So-
you come off, once you come off probation with that review, then you start accruing benefits.
Okay,
Yeah, of vacation.
so I'm still not sure, I think that, I don't know if 1 to 5 is
Yeah,
actual.
right.
That might be, whatever.
Okay.
I think that the transition of that is going to be a little bit difficult to implement.
You mean because it's a partial year?
No, well, it depends on how you're gonna set that up.
Yeah.
But because people that have already been here
Yeah.
have waited. So if somebody, just say you start January 1, we're gonna start accruing, this is
Yeah.
our new policy.
Yeah.
But their anniversary date is February 1st. They've already earned 2 or 3 or 4 weeks that they're due February 1st. So would they start accruing after February 1st? After they've received their,
So we changed the anniversary date part too, so that the review, so you have your first review to get off probation, and then everything else is either in April or October, whatever was closest to your hire date. So it's not gonna be staggered on, we did that like months ago. So it's not gonna be staggered on, you won't have people all around the calendar anymore. Does that change what you're saying? So your accrual will start, so let's say you start on August, let's say you start September 1st. Is it 60 days?
I can't remember.
and I totally understand
Yeah.
what, moving forward, all the new people, I get that policy. I'm wondering how we're gonna handle the ones that have been here for 20 years.
And what do you mean? You mean because they're getting a little something extra?
No, they're getting a little something less.
I mean, the new people are getting a little something extra.
Well, they're just getting it effective whatever their first
Yeah.
date is.
Well,
Yeah, I see, so the people, yeah, and that would also be the same with the, like, if there's employees that have been here for the, what is it, like 22 years now, you get an extra day every year.
Right.
Which we're changing to, I believe, we had written down 25 years.
Yep, 25
Um,
days, which
Right.
is totally reasonable. I don't think you have anybody over 25 days right now. So if you
Right.
cap it, you should be good.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think that transition is gonna, if we change how we're doing full-time benefits, there are lots of those little transition elements that we have to figure out how other municipalities are, how do people do it to make things,
Vacation is the only one that's gonna be affected.
right,
Personal time, everybody accrues on January 1st. Sick
Okay.
time is concurrent with your employment. So basically, accruals for vacation are gonna be concurrent with your employment for everybody new. But if I worked 11 months and I'm expecting to get my 2 weeks vacation that I earned, or 3 weeks vacation that I earned, I need to get that, plus start accruing as everybody else would. So that first year, it's gonna be a little bit expensive. Just for budgeting purposes, that's why because you can't not give it to them. You can give them prorated if they started in April 1st, and you're gonna do your new plan starting January 1st, then you can give them their prorated vacation
Okay, so-
from April.
So what you're saying is right now, people don't start accruing until they're 1 year.
They don't accrue, right.
And then the new people coming in, if they, so say you came in and somebody had been there 1 year, you'd be at the same point. with
They
vacation time.
actually don't accrue now. It's not,
Right.
accrual's not the right term.
Okay.
It's they worked a year, they got a week's vacation.
right,
They worked 5 years, they got 2 weeks
right.
vacation.
And now we're
Okay.
doing, you get little bits at a time that you can use as you go.
Right, right. So there's
Yeah.
just that period of time where the people that didn't start on January 1. We do have some people that everything does on January 1. But I think we have 5 that don't, 4 that don't. So you have a February, you have an April, you have an October.
Finish up the probation question, on page 6 it says it's 6 months is your probationary period, so we should
Thank you.
probably just
So anyway, just something to think about before
Okay.
you nail down that final, how you wanna do it.
Okay.
Do we know what the financial impact's gonna be in doing that?
I think you're gonna have at least 4 people who are going to accrue some bit of vacation. I don't know what financially it's going to be, depends on their rate of pay and whatever. But if you've been here and you've earned 4 or 5 weeks of vacation, you would be entitled to use that in your next year, along with any of that time that you're accruing. And accrual is a very efficient way to do it, don't get me wrong, I agree with that. I just don't, there's this little buckle where it was done one way, and you have a lot of
Right.
long-term
So-
employees, which is good too.
Right, and so that was a question that, and I can't, like, talk in this meeting and look at those. Carl, can you, like, be in charge of looking at comments so we don't miss them?
Yeah.
So one of the questions that that Linda and I had, and you're bringing up exactly the point, is what's the financial impact gonna be for the transition period?
Okay,
And that's what you're asking, so, I don't know, is there a way to figure that out?
I can, I can get it to you.
That'd be great, if you could do that, that would be wonderful,
I
because
think that must be,
I think that when we're looking at, second draft, that would be helpful to have,
Okay, so
which is not for a while.
so if the plan was that this would go in fact January 2024, what it would cost for that first budgeting in this next
Right.
budget
Yes.
season. Got it.
Yep, thank you.
And for those that are, okay.
Yeah.
and that I guess is from Linda, so also your new holiday needs to be added, and then the police department who gets stipend once a year for some holidays and have some holidays they can take.
That's always in the budget anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's from banking account.
Oh, it's in back,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, we're the only department that does that,
Oh, okay.
but it's budgeted based on the number of holidays.
Right. But you always factor that into your budget.
Yeah, and although, I mean, I think this past budget, was based on the 12 holidays rather than 13 now. The only thing we would just say is, because they get paid for 10, and then they get to take 2 holidays at any
Right.
point
Right.
as like a floating day. So instead of the 2, we just make it 3.
Right. There's another unread message it says to jump to.
Linda Eldridge, just saying who she is.
Oh.
What was
Can you
the,
scroll down to the top
Oh,
of
I see it.
Becky's message, or whoever, is that Becky? Yeah.
If you minimize the top participant bar, we can probably see the messages more.
What?
You minimize the top participant bar, that
So
carrot
we
in
can-
the upper left corner of the white bar.
Oh. Oh,
Left,
I'm sorry.
left,
nope.
I can't do, I'm like,
sorry.
no, what do you want?
Just there's a little carrot or a chevron on the left next to participants.
Yeah,
You just click
Nope,
on that,
left.
it should minimize.
This here?
Yeah, it should
Thank
minimize the
you.
participant bar,
Minimized, yeah, perfect.
and then we can see.
Perfect.
Look at that.
sorry, my brain just wasn't hearing what you
Yeah, I
were
didn't mean
saying.
to.
No, it's
talk
not your
over.
fault, it's
It's my
just
fault.
my brain, it's my brain.
Oh, we had a Juneteenth, and I believe it needs to be added to the list.
It is on the
Yeah.
holiday list,
It's on our holiday list, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so look,
Sorry, I'm just trying to read that. Should we read it?
Maybe she should just call in or speak?
no,
Oh,
like,
she
we can
can't-
see it, she's just talking about the when you could start accessing vacation. Okay, thank you, Elaine. So, back to page 24. So you read it, I honestly can't remember if we talked about it or if we just talked about the numbers. You remember?
I don't remember.
It being the part-time,
The part, yeah, from the
Benefits?
part-time,
That was the
I know we
next
talked about it for a
conversation.
while.
Yeah.
And then you were surprised at what little impact it would have on the budget, I think, because you were.
I think you're making that one up.
there was a problem with giving benefits.
What?
There was a problem with giving benefits,
part-time
Yeah.
benefits,
didn't
yeah.
wanna do part-time benefits, and then something changed at the end.
Yeah, I thought you were like, oh, that's all it's gonna be?
And we
'Cause-
decided to relook at the number. We had taken out
Mhm.
federal holidays. We already are required to do jury duty and armed
Yeah.
services. So this is sort of the net cost to add it on a 2
I might have been.
You were talking about, we had just 4 employees that.
Well, there was less employee. I think there was less employees. I thought we were originally. I think at the beginning of the conversation, I thought that we were giving it to
All part-time,
all part-time employees within the town, which would
Yeah.
include a lot more with the
Right.
seasonal.
fire department.
Okay, that was it,
Yeah.
then let's keep that
Yeah.
end of the conversation.
This would impact currently 6 or 7
2, 3,
part-time.
6,
1, 2, 3,
looks
4,
like.
5,
What was
6,
the
7.
total?
7?
What was the total part-time payroll last year? Do we know that? Then we could see how big of an impact it is to the actual. I mean,
Well,
roughly.
It's just under 16,000 to get the total increment.
the total impact is 16,000
No, that-
on a.
No, no,
Oh,
you're
no,
talking
I'm
about
talking
payroll.
about like to
Right.
see
On a
what the
$2 million
payroll is compared to the 15,000. I mean, was that
Oh.
160,000
I
or
didn't,
100?
I didn't break it out that way.
Yeah, it's not broken out in our budget that way, but we can
But,
figure that out too at some
yeah.
point.
I'm just curious to see, like, if our part-time payroll was $1 million, then 15,000 is nothing, or 16,000 is
It's-
nothing. But if our
But if
part-time
it's
payroll
60,000,
is 60,000, then it's
The
Right.
percentage is what you're
Percentages.
talking about.
So one of the things that you have to think about is,
Yeah.
for part-time employees, it will probably cost you more. Right now, when you have an employee that takes a vacation, nobody fills in for them. So it's 40 hours a week, whether they worked it or they didn't work it, it's still their same pay. You might not necessarily have that with part-time. That's why part-times usually don't get benefits, but if you work 24 hours a week, you could still take $2 2 days a week. I mean, obviously it has to go through the approval system, but, so it's not,
I mean, so you could work your 2 days and then take 3 days vacation, is that what you're saying?
well, technically, yeah. As long as you don't work over 40.
You can't, right.
So, I mean, that's not the intent. The intent of giving vacation time is to go get a rest and get a break and whatever, but
yeah,
most people don't have anybody to come in and do their job while they're not here,
yeah.
so they're
So,
double dutying.
so there would need to be language to protect against that, and maybe fortify the language that's clear that you only get the vacation time.
In lieu of your regular being in the office hours.
Your
Right.
schedule.
And then it's gotta be approved based on, you not leaving the town without. Short, right.
But then do we?
Well, Elaine,
I'll never be on vacation.
We can't do without you.
Elaine has to do her payroll before she goes on vacation and then
Yeah.
comes back and finishes AP.
And I did AP again today because
Yeah.
there's so much more, but yeah.
But I mean, I'm saying that that's
You're
what
on
people would have to, that's what we all have to do when take vacation, right?
Yeah.
You know, like if you're gonna be out, you've gotta,
But like Emily and I can cover for each other.
yeah,
There's nobody who can cover for Elaine, for example. Most people, there's like Kim and Libby can help each other. Who else is? Police department can cover for each other. It's really your job, Elaine, that has nobody who can.
Oh, I thought
cover.
it was more than just whatever. So So for me, it would end up being, it would be plus on top of my 24 hours.
yeah,
Because no other way to do it.
Yeah, it would have to
right,
be. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's not, and it's also
Right.
how.
I mean, I can, this week I can shave a couple. Like I'll be here 10 hours today and I'll be here probably 8 hours tomorrow. So I'll get 18 hours instead of 24. But I still had to do all of last week's work, you know, so.
in order to go, right?
Yeah, I did some of it before I left and I'm doing the rest of
Yeah.
it now. So. And I don't go anywhere for a week. It never happens, so. It's 3 days.
I'm just making that note.
I guess I didn't realize it didn't affect anybody else.
Well, it just by chance. I mean, the transfer station, there's
They
2
can
of them.
usually-
Police, there's 2 of them. The tax folks can cover. Emily and I cover for each other. You know.
Well, I don't think police clerk can cover for the police sergeant, but
No.
maybe that's
She knew quite a bit.
or vice versa.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
Okay,
that's a good question.
yep, I made note of that.
so you wanna know total part-time payroll. We can do that. And basically,
So it doesn't. Is there a breakdown of like what the? I mean, maybe this is getting way too detailed, but like what the vacation time would cost for a certain employee versus like what the healthcare is going to cost for that same employee to see
Well-
like out of that 16,000 like which
Yeah, so it
which
breaks,
parts.
so this is Elaine.
Mhm.
If we gave her vacation time, this is what it would cost for her vacation time, right
times the
there.
number of hours.
Oh.
And that's what it would cost for her sick time.
Okay.
And that's, so that is broken down by each of those employees to reach that
But-
total.
And there will not be
There's benefits,
insurance,
but
But what
Fair.
about? But there's no.
There's no insurance, that's not part of what we're offering.
no health insurance.
Was
The insurance piece is if you are, and we don't have an employee who fits this category, but if you are permanent part-time, 30 hours, 30 to 34 hours, you get that prorated insurance
Rick fit that category when he was at the
when he was doing it,
transportation.
yeah. And then we said permanent part-time employees who are working at least 20 hours per week, so 20 to 30, can purchase it on their own. Like we'll allow them to buy into the town policy, but we won't pay for it.
is there
So it's really only,
not to just keep playing devil's advocate, but
Don't
is
keep
there
playing
any
devil's advocate.
is there any reason why then we wouldn't get a part-time employee that says, well, she's, you know, I really to stay in this position, I need more hours or anything like that? I mean,
We can say no,
fair
right?
enough, I guess.
I mean, I think that's what companies all around the world do, is they keep you at 33 hours instead of 34 hours, so you don't hit
get
that.
insurance.
Hit
The state of New
that-
Hampshire gives you 29 and a half, so you don't hit 30.
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty
Purposely.
common practice. Does that say that there's somebody in the waiting room? Or is that just what that sign looks like?
No,
No?
I don't think,
Okay.
no.
I actually think we went through all that. Okay,
Move on.
move on. So we just said that, I think we're on page 26. We had already last time crossed off the federal holidays. And so I don't think we talked about leave donations yet, did we?
No.
So that's a big,
Oh, the pool,
the pool.
where you can,
And so the reason that we put this in here,
we mentioned it, but, yeah.
yeah, I mean, and you might have, I don't remember, but I'll say it again. The reason we put this in here was to kind of codify the process, because right now, the way that the town has managed things is that over time, if an employee has needed more sick time than they had accrued or been allotted, they could ask somebody else to give them some of their sick days, which on the surface is great. Except if you're somebody, what if somebody doesn't like you, you know, and they say no, and then you're without it. It doesn't seem like a clean system. So we put this in to make it a clean system.
So, reading through it, I had a question.
Yeah.
Not everyone's paid at the same rate, so can someone that's making $5 an hour less than someone else donate a sick day, and then I get that sick day, but their pay rate was way less than mine, so,
We're just calling sick days.
okay.
And nobody's compelled to donate them.
I mean, I'm just looking at the
Yeah.
breakdown, like if one person donates all their sick time, we'll say it's $600, and another person donates it, it's $1,148.
You can only donate 2. I think we had,
So it's just days, it's not necessarily money.
no.
But he's saying they're.
Well, it
But
is.
it
on
equates
day
to
one.
money.
It equates to money,
I
yeah.
understand what you're saying, I'm just saying,
So I guess, if, I've never heard of this before, so I don't know how popular this is, but maybe if we wanna do that, we should donate dollars to the sick time pool. So you could donate $100 of your sick time to the pool, and then someone could pull $100
Our finance
worth
person
out.
is saying no, what?
Yeah, I think
what-
budgeting wise, it comes out in the wash.
Yeah, I think it does come out in the wash. So I've done, there's a couple of things with sick, they call them sick banks.
Right,
So people that are eligible can put so many hours into the sick bank. Then you need to have a committee that sits to decide whether you're entitled to get that when you ask for it.
right,
It's really hard to sit on that committee and refuse somebody.
yeah,
But when you know that somebody earns 4 hours of sick time a month and they take it every single month, it's a little hard to give them 2 weeks at the end when you've been working all week.
right.
So that's why people choose not to do it. They would like to do it directly. So if, I work side by side with Emily and Keith, well, Keith can be down. So I work side by side with Emily and something happens and I could give my sick time to her.
Right,
But, if it was, maybe there was a third person in the office that missed the first Monday of every month because they didn't feel like working and it happens to be the day that we accrue. And I'm gonna play devil's advocate too because that's my job and that's what I do. So I always have to look at the black side of it.
yeah,
So I think not everybody wants, some people want to have more control, others don't care. And I think both ways work, but in one of them, you have to have a board in place that usually is a member of the select board, a member of the PD, a member of the administrative board, and then one employee that makes the decision whether they get that sick time or not.
And do people donate because they just have so much extra?
is it optional to not?
solely
So
Yeah.
we don't really have that much. These guys can only accrue, and I know you've increased that too, but they could only earn up to 112 sick hours. I've worked at a place where people have 700 sick hours, and they
So
don't,
then it's meaningful because you could give
Right,
a week and
right.
it doesn't matter.
but,
Yeah.
if you're only accrue, what is it now, 130 or something?
So that's three.
Yeah.
Oh, the new,
the new one's 480.
What?
Oh, this is from the pool, what are you saying, your accrual?
How much
Oh.
can a person accrue? Because right now, we have like 4 people that never accrue because they never use their sick time. But if they were accruing those, they'd be more apt to give them
Oh, look
away.
at the part-time. Part-time is 10 hours.
So you get, if you're full-time, you get 6 sick days a year.
Yes,
Right,
4
and
hours.
you accrue up to,
Oh,
I think it's
Accrue maximum 20 days.
20
12.
days.
4 hours per month, maximum accrual of 20
20
days.
days.
For
20
full-time
days.
people, maximum accrual of 10 days for part-time.
20 days is
So
what,
you can,
20?
and we should also say too, that you're donating hours, not days. So you could say, I'll donate 4 hours to the pool, or whatever.
Yeah. It's
Now, do you have to
usually,
donate to, do you have to donate to get time out?
No.
Cool. Okay.
well, you don't have to donate to request.
Yeah, well, yes.
But you have
That's
to
why,
use, you have to
that's
use
why that group of
everything.
people would be sitting there
Right,
to make their best decision, but. okay.
In most case scenarios, you get more donations in at the beginning than people take out.
Because they use up they give their extra.
Because they give their extra.
Yeah.
So if I'm not gonna accrue anymore because I'm at the max, I'm gonna give 8 hours. And you only do it in January, it's not like you do it 16 times a year. You do it in January and say, how many days do you wanna give? Or do you want to? And it's done discreetly. People
yeah.
seal it in an envelope and give it to you, turn it in, and then this is how many hours we have in the pool.
Yeah.
And then that's there for people.
And
who
then
do
this,
long-term
the
care.
comment here is that they were started for, like serious injury or sickness. The model I'm familiar with is public school,
Yeah, that's,
and, you could only give up to 2 sick days a year. But it was really, like, the people who accessed it wasn't like, oh, I've used all my sick days, I need another sick day. It was like, oh, I've got cancer and I've gotta go to my chemo treatments or
Right.
something. It was, or I've had a heart attack or a hip replacement. It was a serious, extended illness. And I think the examples I know from town where people have shared, days have been for things like that. Like a healing from a hip replacement or something.
And it doesn't necessarily, like right now, it doesn't necessarily have to be from your department. I mean, you could.
Right, now,
You could,
no, it's the pool
Right,
is
right.
the pool.
I was making
well, no,
a,
I know.
Yeah,
just as an example.
Yes,
yeah.
but I also wanted to be clear because I wasn't
Yeah.
positive.
So is this on the, in the policy now,
No.
anywhere, okay.
So this would be-
And that, so what we were saying is that it's not in the policy now, though it's been permitted on it's been allowed as on a case by case
basis.
these meetings are not at my strong time of day. Case by case basis, and it just seemed like it would be better to have an objective committee making this decision than me saying, sorry, I don't care, I don't really like you, I think you're a slacker, I don't care if your hip's broken.
Guess I should have worked harder.
You're not gonna accrue any more days if you work harder. So we were trying to just codify it so that things were transparent, that this is available, you can do it or not do it.
Point of information, the county uses the sick bank policy, and you could ask for that policy and reflect on that, because it's been in place for a few years.
I do think that I kind of like the idea of the sick bank over. I mean, I understand both sides of it, I guess, but I think that this is overall, because if somebody, that way you don't have to. Not that you couldn't ask somebody personally for their sick time, but I mean that takes that out of it. I mean, you still have to request it and get it, but also, I mean, at least you don't have to ask one person or a
Right.
couple people to, hey, can I have a couple days of your sick time? I don't know. I think this is maybe a cleaner.
Are you going
Way of
to
doing
set a limit, how many hours you can have in the bank? It is,
Oh, that's
because it is a liability, it's on your books
Yeah.
as a liability, so.
I don't think that we did that.
Maybe if we looked at somebody else's policy, we could get an idea of what is a good idea, or maybe based on the number of employees we have.
Yeah, I think it would be based on the amount.
How is it a liability if because it's not owed to any one person?
Well,
But if you start
because,
handing them out,
well,
it's like-
just say I had 112 sick hours.
Yeah.
I'm not accruing anymore because I haven't used
Right.
mine.
Somebody give.
So if I give some of that away, now I'm gonna accrue more too. So
Oh.
it's a debt, it's money
Oh,
we're
so it
holding
grows.
for something else.
Yeah.
It does cost, everything costs.
Yeah.
You know, it is an additional cost, it's just,
Would you accrue more if you said, okay, I've capped out and that 4 hours a month just go into sick bank? I mean, are you,
You mean and hold your cap, just stay at your cap and,
yeah, I mean, I always look at that cap kind of silly, because in my mind, if I look at it mathematically, I'm like, okay, I reached my cap, that means once a month I should take a day off that's a sick day. That will just
Yep.
that I'm still getting something for the accrual, right? Because you're not
right.
like you're just
But you have to
you're
look
losing
at,
that you're losing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once
have
you hit
to-
a cap, you don't get any more. So
Right.
like, unless you
you don't get any more, but that's how it comes out. But you have to remember, sick days are a gift from the taxpayers.
right,
They are so that your family can pay their mortgage at the end of the month.
Yeah.
If you're out for 3 weeks because you broke something and you can't come to work, sick time covers that, so you
Right.
can pay your bills. It's not supposed to
Not
be
vacation.
used. That's why you're supposed to be really good about, are you really sick, or did you go shopping?
You're going fishing,
Or
yeah.
did you go to lunch, or did you kick off your vacation a day early?
Right.
Sick time, and sick time even
think
gets taxed differently. I mean, technically, when we break it all down, sick time can be taxed differently and whatnot, so it's not, yes, you've earned it because you've worked here, but, you
The
know,
intent.
you've earned it for a reason.
the intent is to make sure that your family is okay if something bad happens. And when you know, I think 112 is definitely not enough. Any major surgery that you have
Right.
has
Is a
a
month.
recovery period of 3 weeks to a month. And people that should be able to
So
pad that, pad their 112, so that if something happened, or something terrible happened to a member of their family and they had to take care of them, they would be able to stay afloat.
maybe in my mind, your accrual going into the sick bank is not so bad, but having a max to the sick bank would be more important. Like if you had an extra 4 hours a month, I'm going to use that for an example. If that automatically went in, that as long as there was a cap on the
Yeah,
sick bank,
I think that's too much. I
that's
think
too
that
much. Too
beginning
complicated.
of January, when
Okay.
everybody's gonna
Okay.
do their thing, they say, I'm gonna give I think when you establish a sick bank, there's usually an extra day that you can give. You can give 3 instead of 2. But annually, usually you can only give 2.
Yeah.
And again, that depends on how many employees
Yeah.
you have. But
Well, I made a note to see what, and
would
I
be-
can look at Carroll County and some other towns
Definitely.
to see what they have for caps.
yeah.
So, okay,
And just for housekeeping, you might wanna put a line or a demarcation between the part-time benefits and going into leave
That was one of my
donations.
comments, too.
well, except this leave donations is part of the part-time benefit, there's leave donations in full-time benefits too, which is different.
Oh,
So this,
So
so
wherever
we're
it
still,
ends,
we're
yeah.
still in part-time benefits.
so you have that twice.
Yeah, we got leave donations full-time, leave donations part-time, they're different numbers in the section.
Oh.
What kind of overhead does having 2 different leave donation policies cause? I mean, for managing all of this.
I don't know why it would be different. I mean, you should be able to do if you work a 6-hour day, you should be able to donate, 2 6-hour days. Or,
So
I think
maybe,
everybody should be in the same bank. It should be,
let me just
Well,
look
yeah,
at it
if
a
you're
second.
sick, you're only going to be, like, for a long period of time, you have to pull out of the sick, you have to request for extra. You're still only going to be getting your 24 hours a week, or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you're going to all of a sudden be.
And actually, the numbers are the same, but we just put it in both sections, so that if you're a
Okay.
part-time employee, you're just gonna look at your
you're just
section,
going, okay,
and that's showing you the benefits you have, the numbers are exactly the same.
okay.
So, that's why we did it that way.
So we could just make it into one.
No,
You-
you put it both, 'cause
We-
otherwise the readers will miss it.
Yeah, cause if you're a part-time
Oh,
employee,
okay,
you're not
but
gonna look.
it will only be one.
Yeah.
One
Yeah, one
policy.
pot,
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's just put in this section, because if you're a part-time employee, you're gonna look at that section.
Okay.
The maximum amount to be donated by any single employee to the pool is 80 hours. That's 2 weeks.
But that's over all your years, not in 1 year, so if I work here for 25 years, the most I can give is 2 weeks. Does
We're
that
gonna
time?
monitor that. I think it should be annual. I think it should be
Okay.
so many a year that you can give.
Yeah,
And then just every year you can only give that amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you start off, you might wanna say 3 days, and then
Yeah.
later on, you might wanna say 2, or 2 and 1, or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
we could also look at somebody like Ed suggested. Look at
Yeah.
maybe somebody else's policy and then
Yeah.
just alter it a little bit if we would like to.
especially for the part-time, for the full-time.
Okay. Let me just change this in this one too. Oh, we had changed it. We had changed it in the full-time, so that it said the maximum amount donated in 1 year is 16 hours.
Okay,
But we didn't change it in this one. So that's two,
So just make it consistent,
Yeah.
yeah.
okay. All right. Bereavement's the same.
question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
Okay,
no, these are,
really
you're
good.
making great points.
So bereavement up to 5 days.
We changed it to
3.
3,
Alright, so that would be 3.
yeah.
And then
Oh.
And then
Well, we got,
3 and 2.
3 and 2.
oh, from 5 and 3.
So is that annually, or is that, it can happen as multiple times as whatever?
Oh, we were thinking. Oh well.
I mean, obviously,
Actually, we didn't say that because so if your father dies and 3 months later your kid dies,
Yeah, I know, I mean, but those
No,
are
I'm
the
just
important
saying.
ones, those are the important ones, but there's some like step, in-law, outlaw, how many times have you been married, how many in-laws do you have? You know, that does add up, I mean, you know, sorry.
So,
And again, those are usually done case by case because you know the people and you know the
Yeah.
family and you know how close the relationship is.
Yeah.
But it's a little hard to write that all out in policy.
so you could say then that, well, and the department heads are the ones that, get to decide this, so they know. So you could
Okay,
say
you're right.
then that 3 work days for death of a spouse or child, 2 for absences by a member of the immediate family to be determined case by case? Is that what you're saying?
No, I was just being like,
Do you want me to see how other towns word that?
it's probably fairly similar. There used to be big numbers there because everybody traveled, but now everybody pretty much does everything locally. You needed 5 days to go to Florida and it's circumstantial too.
Right.
Sometimes you need 5 days to go travel and come back, and sometimes it's right here in town, so it would be, a day or whatever. But I don't think you have.
On page 26, it says work days, and on page 27, it says days for.
Yeah.
Whichever way you wanna go with that, but.
So what is it, it's 5 days, 3 days for full-time and 3 for part-time, or,
No, it's
Depending on if it's a spouse or a child that passes,
oh,
or a family member.
it's the time off that is dependent on. Where's the? So we actually had, this is a question, if you look at the full-time and the part-time for bereavement, we were trying to prorate, so we said, if you're part-time, you have 3 days off and 3 and 2, full-time, it's 5 and 3. So the question is, after we put that in, somebody's like, really? Does it matter if you're full-time or
Yeah,
part-time?
really.
Your spouse
Right.
dies? Shouldn't it just be 5 days off for everybody if your spouse dies?
But if you're working,
that
if
would
you were only working 2 days during the week,
Right,
okay, so you get your 2 days and then your 3rd day next week, you'd still be able to take the same time off
right,
because the full-time person's working 5 days that week.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're still taking a week off. You
So
just have
leave it
more
this-
days
leave
off
it
to
this
begin
way.
with. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Okay.
I think so too.
Okay.
For a second, you had me though.
Let's just get to let's just do workers' comp. We don't have to talk about. Let's just talk about the insurance point, and then we can go into the regular meeting. So permanent part-time. We just touched on this. Insurance. I don't know if it's changed in your. Does it say 67.5?
Yeah,
Okay.
we wrote it in.
We said that last week. Okay.
Yeah.
So the township pays 67.5% of the premium for a town-sponsored single plan or health insurance policy for a permanent part-time employee that is scheduled to work on average 30 hours or more per week over the course of an entire calendar year. So it's only for that 30 to 30. It's 34 when you get full-time, right? Is it 34?
35.
35. Okay, so it's that 30 to 35. We don't really have anybody now who fits that, but we're putting it in there anyway because we don't know what changes come down the pike.
So they get a prorated insurance benefit.
They get a prorated single-person insurance benefit, but they have to be in this category that we don't have anybody working in right now. We also said that if they work 20 to 30 hours a week, they can purchase the health insurance coverage through a payroll deduction, paying the full amount themselves. They can also, if they work at least 20 hours a week, they can purchase the dental through the town through a payroll deduction, but they're paying all the associated costs with that themselves.
We compensating them any differently if they opt out of taking the insurance?
No,
But that's probably a better rate than market value
think so.
for health insurance, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's good insurance.
let me just look at something for a second, hang on. Yeah. Elaine, you wanna say something?
I was wondering, I'm not familiar with the dental plan. do we have any rules on it? I know we have rules that you can't even sign on to it until you've worked here 6 months. Do they have any rules about who can be on it and who can't? So we'll have to
Okay,
check
okay,
into
check.
that.
Okay. Well, when we're doing the legal check, we can also talk.
I think it's just Health Trust and they provide it, so
Yeah,
are there any, are
Okay.
there any requirements
Bare
that we have to
minimums,
meet?
yeah.
okay.
I was just racking my brains thinking if I had read that anywhere before, but I haven't.
Okay. And what was the other thing you said? Oh, 6 months. Okay.
I know we were scheduled 5 to 6, but I don't know how much, I know we were trying to get this done.
Yeah, let me just see
But-
what's. How much?
Not,
That's a lot.
not saying we need to stop now, I just,
Yeah,
do we
we've gotta-
wanna go till 7:30 or?
No, we should come back, but this is what I'll
We
do.
can, do you wanna try to finish through the part-time stuff and then get to a good stopping point or not? Or is that still quite a ways?
I think it's quite a bit.
Okay.
No, actually,
I think you're getting into FMLA and all of that
And
stuff
that's
that
all-
is regulated by law, so.
and that's all full-time. And, so actually, we're done with part-time.
I
Because,
just know coming back in a part-time for me in my mind was tough last time, so.
yeah, yeah, I think we're done with part-time because page 29, I mean, the workers' comp stuff is all, we didn't change
Okay.
anything from the
Yeah.
original policy, and the FMLA stuff, we can start on page 29 next time. And so, I will try to get some of the questions answered, like some of the things Elaine's brought up, and maybe if you can punch those numbers before the next
Yep.
work session, whenever that's gonna be great if we could do the next work session at the next meeting, just to finish these last 5
That's good with
pages.
me. 'Cause how long has it been?
A
It was like
long time.
Month, 6 weeks,
Yeah.
8 weeks?
Can we do that at the
I
next
don't need
one?
to do that again. I'm happy with that, what's the date?
21st?
Holy.
I know.
I know, right?
So another work session on the 21st
Yep,
from 5 to 6?
5 o'clock. Okay. And then we'll finish, and then we can start piecing this out into the world for more review.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Elaine, for staying
Yeah,
around for
that's
this.
really-
Yeah, no
So
problem.
helpful. So helpful.
First, you start at 3:30 again.
Fine.
Oh, agendas.
Hopefully it's not 95 degrees out the 21st of September. Yeah. You give it up?
Oh.
Original policy.
Thanks.
A lot of work.
It's,
More power to you.
it is not in my wheelhouse.
If you have extra, I'll take
Linda's
one
been
and
super
hand it out one to
helpful, and then
Lynn.
Keith and Elaine both been getting feedback right along, so these are people who really know this stuff, which is great.
Okay, we do have to just mention what other changes and additions.
But you know it.
Moving on to changes and additions to the agenda, we have a few. Updated accounts payable, the total cash used, and 2 non-publics at the end.
Well,
Right,
one
or
was
one was
in
at
the
the
first
beginning.
session and one is added to.
So non-public, RSA 91-A:32A to the beginning of the meeting, and non-public under RSA 91-A:32D at the end of the meeting. And is that it for changes and additions? Hearing no, maybe?
Yep.
Moving on to new business, with the police department update with Chief Littlefield.
Is there any public comment?
No, we haven't.
At the end.
Yeah. On to you.
Oh,
You got the
alright,
floor.
good evening. Thanks to the board, Keats and Elaine for the work on that, updating that policy, the part-time, stuff, because I think just makes the town more competitive in a environment where there's a lot of work, labor shortage, so. thank you guys for working on that, and hopefully it becomes policy. Let's see, it's been quite a busy summer. I guess the positive side is that it's been more of like, I guess, nuisance calls and just busy activity, day-to-day activity, rather than a lot of like major criminal activity events, so that's a plus, but it does keep us quite busy. Labor Day weekend was pretty busy, and so I submitted stats. I mean, I think stats for July and then August are like some of the highest that we've had yet. Part of that comes with having a full complement, or almost full staffing, to be able to do more proactive things, like director patrols and building checks and things of that nature. So that's been it's been good. It's been quite busy. One of the things that keeps us busy is a lot of civil activity, and we often get called, I guess, as a means to avoid the legal process of going to court or suing, people taking civil action against other people or associations or whatever. So sometimes we get called in, and I think they try to utilize us for that manner, and we'll put a stop to some of that activity. I mean, but some of that activity overlaps into becoming, has the potential to become, criminal if we leave it unkept. So, we do our best to mediate situations and point people in the right directions, and, try and keep the peace among whatever parties are involved. It seems every summer we deal with, throughout the year, but it increases in the summer. We deal with the various private developments that just have tight-knit neighborhoods, and it's very hard for some of the tight-knit neighborhoods to get along. Candlepine Village is one that's currently having a lot of issues. They're all private roads in there. It changes a little bit of what we can enforce and what we can't enforce. It's not town roads, so we can't, enforce some of the town ordinance or right-of-way type stuff that we might on normal roads. That's probably then, how like developments go, there's no formal board. So White Lake Estates has a board or association, Skinny Beach has an association, Tamworth Co-op is a cooperative, and they have a board, and Candlepine doesn't. And so when it comes to decision making time, there's whoever leads the charge or does whatever they want, just makes it very difficult, because it's, it often falls into our plate, which really has nothing to do with us, but we still go out there to mediate it so it doesn't turn into a criminal activity where somebody gets assaulted or somebody does something or whatever. But some of the issues that we had this summer were, one resident putting in a business in that development, and then restructuring some of the roadway, which upset some people, so they would fill the roadway back in, and so on and so forth. Just a bunch of going back and forth. Just to give it an understanding, come winter time, they don't, for the whole development, they don't hire anybody to plow the entire development. It's, one person might plow out to their home and offer to plow for money, some of the other roads, but won't plow all of them. So then another person might plow that road. And so it's interesting, because there's times in the winter when you go in there and you're like, can't drive down that road. They're pretty good about, getting them plowed, but it's really a free-for-all when it comes to their structure in there. So it's an interesting quandary, I guess, and it's not, I'm not sitting here advocating that the town needs to get involved, but it does just create quite a debacle, I guess. You know, there's nothing to enforce from a town ordinance side of things. In some aspects, some yes, some no. And then some of the, you know, like, if we were to deal with like motor vehicle violations in any of the developments, so like, I think, do you guys have speed limit, you don't have any speed limit signs in your development?
Yeah.
Do you have speed limit signs in White Lake Estates?
Yes.
So like, we can't enforce that prima facie, you know, or, well, we can enforce it prima facie, but we can't, you know, on the posted limit, it's not a town posted limit. So we would look at things like just charging somebody reckless op, you know, rather than 10 mile an hour over the speed limit type of thing. So we can't enforce those type of things. So it's kind of a different beast in some ways. We have a right to patrol in there because there's no gates that prevent us from doing so. If it was a gated community, that would be a whole different ball of wax, and we'd have to be pretty much invited into it. And I mean, even ungated, you know, there's sort of a certain level of invite that needs to happen, you know. And oftentimes it's just by way of residents saying, hey, we have four wheels going up and down the road, you know, can you drive through periodically or whatever, and that to us quantifies an invite. You know, the Tamworth Pines Co-op, they've had a long-standing feud with Dunkin' Donuts in the right-of-way that they have over the driveway leading into Tamworth Pines Co-op. And they put up no parking signs. Well, they're not town no parking signs. So, you know, we enforce it as a means to keep the peace and move people along and help out the both entities, but you know, it ties up a lot of our time. And you know, I know the sergeant was there, dealing with it a lot over the weekend. They had set up some sort of traffic pattern structure that just was creating more harm than good. And there was a lot of heated exchanges that were going on. So, you know, I do try to sit down and work with both parties involved. I wrote a letter to the regional manager of Dunkin' Donuts expressing the concerns of the liabilities there. You know, traffic will get all the way back out onto 16. People moving down 16 at a good speed. You know, it didn't take much to cause an accident there. People are crazy. They'll sit in line for 2 hours just to get that cup of coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. I guess that's credit to Dunkin' Donuts, but so I mean, if you go out there on the weekend, I mean, if you're out in that area, you'll see it. You know, early morning or whatever, it's a madhouse there. And I get the co-op side of it. You know, I understand their frustrations as well. But in the reality, it comes down to really it should be just a legal suit between the two parties to find a resolve and mediate it that way. But we often get dragged into it as a means of free mediation. So that was a long way about just to explain, you know, that is something that we deal with quite often that consumes a lot of our time. You know, it's truly civil in nature, but we often end up mediating these things in order to point people in the right direction and keep it from turning into criminal. Drug take back. The second installment of the year is October 28th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and I'll email a flyover so we can get it posted on the website as soon as possible. As usual, that is any unwanted medications you can bring between the hours of 10 and 2, drop them off in our lobby. Anonymously, you can just ditch them in the box. We just seal the box up. We don't pull them out or do anything to count them or anything like that. So just bring them in there, drop them off. Unwanted medications, they just ask that if you have like a vape pen, that it not have a battery in it, no needles, no liquids, things of that nature. So, and then that's that just helps get unwanted medications off the street so they don't end up in some sort of pill party or something like that. So, and that's a national initiative that occurs all around the country. Let's see. Crosswalk at the school has not been painted, I think, in almost 4 years or more. And we've gone back and forth with the state about it, and you know, it got to a point where this spring I was trying to figure out, like, maybe we just, you know, conjunction with the PTA, we do an event where we, you know, close the road or one lane or something like that and get the kids out there to help paint a sidewalk and make it their own, crosswalk, excuse me. But I had, we had gone through, you know, checking with the state to get some permission and whatever. They said, sure, you can paint the sidewalk, and sent us a contract, not a contract, but yeah, I guess it'd be a contract. And basically, when I read the contract, it was basically saying that the town would take over maintaining it indefinitely. And then, of course, but at the same time, it had to be done to their specifications. And so I just tabled it. That was back in May. I just readdressed it again today and sent the email back and received the email from the gentleman's supervisor. I gotta tell you, I was not happy with the response. So one of the things I pointed out is in this contract, it specifically says the state is not responsible for maintaining crosswalks, with the exception of one crosswalk in front of the school's entrance, which applies to what we have here. So they spell it right out in their own document that they are responsible for maintaining that crosswalk. So I sent an email off and explaining that and asking respectfully that this get done as soon as possible. I know they just lined the roads, but I know they're gonna, I think Keith sent the paving plan from the state, you know, which outlines the paving that's going on 16, which I think we just paid to do the crosswalks in Chicora Village there.
And then they had to redo them,
But I think if,
so they're gonna have to redo them.
well, I think if you look at the paving plan, it says they will do the crosswalks
Oh,
the first time after repaving, and then not after. But my point to that is that they're gonna have a crew in Chicora Village to do that, but they can't come over and do this. So the response I got back, I was not happy with. I actually had CC'd Mark McConkey on my original email. And basically, you know, to paraphrase and take out all the fancy language, the way I read it was he said that painted crosswalks, there's no stats that show that painted crosswalks have any, you know, with keeping people safe, you know, versus not having a painted crosswalk.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't the law that if you're in a crosswalk, traffic has to stop for you?
Correct, and they failed to note that in the email and kind of skirted around that fact, and it was, yeah, so the liability changes if I just cross the road without a crosswalk and somebody hits me, well, I'm the liable one because, you know, I should have yielded to the traffic coming down the road. But it flips if you're in the crosswalk. So if I'm in the crosswalk and a car hits me, now the onus is on, the liability is on the driver. So the way I just took it was, you know, not to call him out, but he is Michael O'Donnell, the chief of traffic engineering. And it just basically, you know, in my mind paraphrases the fact that painted lines on the you know, crosswalks do nothing, that parents should walk their kids across or have a crossing guard to help mitigate, you know, any hazards. They don't see it as a hazard, and essentially they'll get to it when they get to it. So they said flat out they're not going to do it this year. They will try to get it into next year's plan, maybe. They tried to say that weather, you know, this year and staffing shortage is an issue, but my point is it hasn't been done in over 4 years. So at some point it could have got done. It just seems very delinquent to me, and a derelict of their responsibility. I will follow up with them and continue to CC Mark McConkey on this, Representative McConkey on it.
Yeah, I mean,
in
do you
hopes
want a
that
letter from us and from the school board too, just to support it?
Maybe at some point, let me just see. I mean, I'm gonna respond to him and get back. It's just frustrating to me that it clearly states that the response, he even reiterated that in this email and said, you know, yeah, we're responsible for it, but we're not gonna get to it anytime soon because we don't really think it's a big deal. I mean, you know, that's the way I read that email. And I'm pretty disheartened by it, quite frankly. I mean, it just says that schools are, you know, the children's safety is not of utmost importance. I mean, I get the state has a lot, I get that they're understaffed like many of us, but it just seems like it could have got done by now. So, I'll continue to work on that and hopefully we'll get something to change. Staffing, we still have an opening for a full-time patrolman or officer. Potentially could, you know, for the right person, be a master patrolman position or maybe a corporal position if need be, if that's what is the selling point to bring somebody on board. And just to clarify, if there's any questions, the reason that space opened up was because the sergeant moved back in the spring, had moved to part-time at 32 hours a week. So we still have that open position and we would like to get it filled before the end of the year. Let's see. The Outing Club is doing their Main Street event for Halloween again. And this will be year 3, I think, of doing it. And last year I had talked about exploring the idea of closing Main Street altogether and having this event. I thought it was a wonderful event. It centralizes a lot of the activity to one area. And I think like last year, they come here, they go to the Tamworth Pines Co-op and maybe a couple of developments, but it's pretty, you know, centralized Main Street. Wonderful event, many people. They get all the residents along Main Street to be involved, and if they don't want to participate, they get permission to at least decorate at the house or put something out at the house for those that don't participate. So if you haven't been down here during, and then they have some other pumpkin carving and all that at the History Center. So I believe they're going to approach you at some point and request permission to close Main Street for that period of time. And we'll
What's the
figure out.
period of time, do you know, just so I can put it down?
I don't have the hours. Tuesday is Halloween.
4 to 7,
It's
okay.
probably 4 to 8. Might be a 4-hour block. But that authority falls on you guys to give permission to shut down that.
And from a safety perspective, any reason you think that that's not a good idea?
No, I think it's I mean, I was the one that advocated it, so, and reason being is, you know, I put a cruiser up at the intersection here, but traffic was still allowed to come down, and I just felt like I would rather have everybody walking up and down Main Street in the middle of the road with the road closed. And just not have to worry about cars coming and going. So, we've had experience in the past with like the street fair, with closing off like at Great Hill Road, you know, up to the intersection or something like that. So I think it's feasible. I'd like to see it done. You know, probably take some volunteer work on their end, as well as staffing on our end. But I think it's feasible and it would be a good event for the town.
Okay.
And that's it. I'm sure there's a bunch more that's going on, but that's about all I have tonight.
Thank you.
You do.
My comment was related to the police department. May I ask that question now, or should
Yes.
I wait till the end of the
Yeah,
meeting?
you can ask it now.
Earlier this year, RSA 106-L:17 was added to the police standards and training statute. which basically standardized a grievance process for the newly formed and appointed by the governor's Police Accountability Council. And I was just wondering if the chief has all of those grievance processes in place, since it was due to be done by August 31st.
What's,
And
could you
could
say
you
the
repeat the
RSA?
RSA 106-L:17.
Colon 17.
Because that committee down in Concord is actually is hearing between 30 and 50 complaints. Now, the reason why this complaint system started is it's like an offshoot of the Lori list, which seemed very unfair for both somebody putting in a grievance and also against a police officer. The new system is better because I believe it's fair for both people. But I'm trying to figure out if all police departments are aware of it. The next stop is going to be the sheriff's department, because I want to know if he has it situated.
So, yeah, I can address that if you want. I believe what you're talking about is the conduct review committee.
Yes.
So, and it's not, yeah, it is separate of the Lori list, and, you know, they're completely separate, and yet they could be one and together, you know, like, if there's conduct that determines that somebody should be on a Lori list, then that's a determination of that department to put them on that list. It's called the EES, or the Evidence Exculpatory Evidence Schedule, and it's basically a list of police officers that have been found not credible. There's a few other categories, and I don't have it in front of me to quote it. So, but it's essentially just, and what that does is opens the door for defense attorneys for discovery against officers that, you know, maybe have these type of issues. So if they were, let's say an officer was involved in an accident themselves on the job and then lied about it, type of thing, but it was found out through, you know, an internal affairs investigation that they did, they might get reprimanded, you know, and suspended without pay, but they may not necessarily lose their job, or they might lose their job, and then they would be put on this EES list, and then that is sort of it's carried around with them to every PD they go to, and, you know, every time they are summoned to court, subpoenaed to court, you know, that document, so to speak, of what their actions were is brought up, you know, by the defense.
So what's the difference,
So-
what's this one?
So the conduct review committee is basically any complaints that may be made by citizens and such, and it's a separate entity. It's sort of like a standalone entity within the academy, the Police Standards and Training Council, and they will take in these complaints by various methods. They could be from citizens or whatever, and they review them and bring them to the department's attention to know whether it was addressed or so on and so forth, or conduct their own investigation that's separate of the department, because it may be a complete, you know, hierarchical mess within the department that, you know, might be the complaint. So, and then they make a determination of fault or finding or whatever, you know, and then they will make recommendations to the council, and the council is the one that oversees everybody's certification. So it's a board, and they can chime in on certification and such.
Yes.
My specific question was, in his department, are those grievance and internal controls in place as they should be by August 31st? That was the specific question.
Yes, I was getting to that. And
Sure.
yeah, so yeah, we do have those. I will so just so you understand, we have a monthly meeting with the chiefs of police. So in Carroll County, so it's the Carroll County Chiefs of Police Association, and we meet monthly. And these are I think July meeting, we were talking about this very thing. So everybody's made aware of it. Everybody is to come on board and make the changes or whatever needs to be done. So much of what is there is already in place. It's just a matter of either tweaking some of the policy to meet, some changes in wording, or, create a policy if it doesn't exist. And we just did this with, after, the George Floyd case. We had to go and change all our policies to make sure that there was no chokeholds, that chokeholds were not permitted as part of your use of force policy. So there was language specific to, something that we had to go, and we actually had to resubmit to the academy those copies of those policies, and they would certify that we met that criteria. So, yes, thank you.
So what had to be, I just want to make sure I understand it, so what had to be changed by August 31st in our department?
It just I have to review it, I don't have it in front of me.
So
I don't
specific
want it,
language had to be
It's just
updated?
specific language that speaks to the grievance policy by,
Okay,
we already have the grievance policy, so like how it goes, like if a citizen wanted to make a complaint on an officer, we just have to make sure that if there's any specific language that is new, that it's added in there.
okay.
Thank you for taking my question.
Is there any other questions for Chief Littlefield while he's in? Do you have anything else for us?
I don't think so.
Thank you very much for
Thanks.
coming in tonight.
Alright, you guys have a wonderful night.
You too.
Alright, moving on to the New Hampshire Public Deposit Pool with Annie Burke, which Annie is not here, so
She's planning on being here.
we will
Was
for
that
now
an update
move.
from what she
Last
took
time?
from last time?
You wanna
I mean,
wait,
she
see
gave
if
us a
she
whole
comes.
presentation last meeting,
It's-
this is
we
the
can-
next,
it's-
the follow-up?
Yeah.
We can just wait
essentially.
until the end of the new business
And if not, I can,
yeah, to
let,
see if she's
yeah, I
comes
can
in.
let you know what.
So moving on to junkyard junkyard license application, map 215, lot 36. Should I say the name? Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie Townsend.
Charlie Townsend.
That's
Hi
me.
Charlie Townsend.
Hey, Charlie.
I'm Charlie Townsend. I am the new junkyard compliance liaison.
Good.
It's a fancy
So-
name.
So obviously we're kind of breaking this in a number of ways.
Yeah.
So on the 29th, we did a site visit to map 215, lot 36. When I say we, I mean there was myself and Keats and Carl and Steve. The property owner there has, as my understanding, a junkyard license. And this was meant to be a renewal inspection. What I've discovered, kind of digging through some old files, is we do have an application for a license form that people would fill out, but there's nothing kind of related to what would take, as far as acknowledging renewal. Because this says now I gotta be attaching copies of deeds and all kinds of other things that seem like that should be on file somewhere. And I'm not really clear whether that would be here in town or with the state.
It might be at the state level.
State.
Which, we have the application for the renewal, but which are you referring to exactly?
So I have an application for an actual license, but not
Right,
so
but
much for
what
a-
is the license? Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I just don't have a great kind of paper trail to say, here's the original license and here's the renewal and everything's good and we'll see you next year. Nor was it terribly clear whether the fee associated with this is an annual fee.
it is,
Okay, so.
yeah, and they have paid it,
Okay,
yeah.
so I just don't have some of those things, but anyway,
Yeah.
I think the consensus was that this particular property owner does in fact deserve to have their license renewed. So that's kind of where we stand now. I'm not sure what my next step should be in that regard, or whether I just kind of hand that over to you guys to fill out.
I think now I can
And I'll
send
do it to
them,
the state.
once you've, I'll probably have you sign the letter,
Sure.
or should it be the select board, not sure, maybe it's the select board, actually, it's the select board.
I'm not sure, I'm not acknowledged
Yeah.
to any
Yeah.
official extent yet, so, this position, but, okay, well, and I can follow up with you, not at this
Yeah.
meeting, right, so, that kind of stuff.
I sort of take small steps to carry this on. We've got one good example out there that I'd like to kind of reestablish some conversations that were taking place before my tenure with a couple of property owners, with the idea of maybe assisting them along rather than and not starting out with threatening anyone, because we're not at that point yet. So I did submit sort of a hasty draft here that I was kind of proposing, hey, I'm this new guy who's asking to sniff around on your property, basically, and I wanted to make sure that wasn't intimidating. But I wondered if you want to look at that sort of thing and decide whether we should proceed and whether it needs to go past a lawyer before I send it out. There was a list of property owners compiled before I started here, and I anticipate sort of whittling away at that, a couple at a time. The idea is we perhaps build some momentum based on, oh, see, that worked, let's try this with you, and then et cetera.
Okay.
Because I think there's going to be a lot of case-by-case stuff going on.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm looking for feedback on both the content and the tone, as far as whether this is consistent with what the select board had in mind.
That seems
I
pretty.
think it looks good.
And this is intended to be a generic letter to all property owners?
Yeah.
Well,
the
he'll
ones that are-
fill them in.
I just say that because there's a line in the third paragraph about removing vehicles already, that I didn't know if
I
would
think
apply.
this is going to two specific,
And that's true for both of
and
those.
that's true for
Yes,
both.
and so, and I would anticipate maybe that I would only
Let's
tweak
see.
that a little bit, so that making the assumption that there's been progress rather than accusing them of no progress. So,
Right.
there's no harm in that. This is my intended approach anyway.
This seems pretty good. I think that if there was any, if it was altered specifically to any certain property, that as long as we make a copy of that, put it on file with that specific property, right?
Yep.
That would be. I think this is a
So then,
pretty.
so then maybe referencing the map, lot number, something
Yeah,
to make it
yeah.
specific.
And I
Um,
can show you the format. We have some of the.
Yeah, I've got a couple
Yeah.
of those
Yep.
here.
But
in
this,
the past.
I think this is a good place to start.
But, and if I kind of cut and paste from things that have been on by the lawyer, I just didn't want to subject the town to every time I change a word that we gotta ship it up to the lawyer again.
No,
I don't think we
you
need
do.
to do that.
We probably have enough models that we know,
Okay,
but you and I could look at one.
yeah, and nothing, I don't anticipate sending anything out from my computer, so to speak, without showing at least someone here. So-
Yeah, and Keats is usually a good person to.
Right.
And
Do you have, Charlie, the copy of the DES? You can find it online, it's their whole packet,
That
it's
little
the,
workbook, yeah.
it's the checklist and
yeah.
everything, so the RSA
Yeah.
should be in that.
He's got that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we got a lot of that stuff, and frankly, it's, speaking as, say, if the role were reversed, it's very overwhelming and intimidating.
Yeah.
So, it seems like, I don't wanna rule anything out, so people certainly are welcome
Yeah.
to pursue that whole thing, but you're all in for that. And,
Yeah.
and I think that's gonna be the exception more than the rule.
Right.
And I think maybe mitigating things in some other way is certainly more likely, it seems to be.
I do love it though, the yes and no photos with the,
It's
it's like
really good.
super user friendly that way.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that the RSAs you need to reference are right
Sure,
in there,
yeah.
and you can reference, I mean, theoretically, I thought we sent the link to that in one of the letters to everybody, didn't we?
Yeah, well, yeah. I haven't had a chance to read this. It just
No, sent,
Oh.
the letters way back when, 2 years ago, I thought we sent them a link to this, so they theoretically have
yeah, all right.
had this,
I could show up with a hard
Yeah.
copy.
I think,
Yeah.
as far as certified mail, I think that's kind of necessary, right? That's what we've done enough.
I certainly see some receipts in the files.
Yeah.
That has been,
Yeah, I think that's
been the precedent, but.
that way nobody can say they didn't get it
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And I think that they've all had, definitely these two parties have had plenty of contact from us. In-person visits, letters, everything, so I don't think, I think certified mail is just keeping up that, like, formality,
Okay.
if nothing else. So that it shows that, yep, we're still doing this, and it's a formal thing.
I think if it did get to the point where we were, you know, gonna implement some sort of fine or something, then it would be important to have the,
The paper trail.
you know,
Yeah.
and to have a specific letter
Yes.
for a specific property.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the time
Yeah,
elapsed.
certified
And have it,
No, that's a
have
good
it, have the attorney maybe look at it just to say, yeah, that's,
But I don't think you need legal review with this one.
no,
do you?
I don't think
Yeah.
this needs,
No.
I don't think it needs a legal review. I'm just saying if it gets to
Yeah.
the point where there's gonna be,
Resistance somehow
know,
or whatever.
Okay.
a fine or something along those
Yeah,
lines, then it might be
and
important.
you can probably tell I'm trying to strike this balance between, you
Yeah.
know, being sort of chummy and open-minded without,
Being threatening.
yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere.
I think this is a good place to start, and
Yeah.
just kind of, you'll have a good feel for what the responses are gonna be, or
Yeah.
if there are responses.
Yeah.
That's fine, but.
So,
Well, and one thing that we've talked a lot about is that, and not necessarily just about these two parties, but in general, it's like bringing yourself into compliance when for maybe even decades you haven't been. It's super daunting, so having somebody who's willing to work with you through the steps instead of just saying, you need to do this in 10 days, I think is the balance we had hoped to strike, so it seems like you're taking that, you're taking that to heart, and I think that
yeah, I think that's important.
that's important.
Yeah.
You know, we're not trying to put anybody out of business, we're not trying to shame anybody, we're just trying to help them get it done. So,
And that seems to be DES's opinion as well. They're
yeah, yeah,
just trying to be helpful and get into compliance.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so happy to have you doing this, thank you.
Yeah. Do you have some other questions for us? Or?
I think that gets me rolling on things.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I think
Charlie,
that-
I'm in all day tomorrow or Monday, we can
Okay.
go over.
and the idea was, this was presented as something like 5 hours a week, and I'm not either trying to fill it or trying, but I'm certainly gonna try to maintain that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So nothing spins out of control, but we don't also get bogged down.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Well, that's the idea,
And I
5
think-
consistent hours a week would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Right?
And I
About
think
7.5 in so far.
if there's so, you know, you could also recommend to us if you think it should be, you know, if it becomes, you know, if you need an extra little bit, or if there's weeks when it's less, or I mean, we have no idea. I mean, it's a new
Yeah,
position, new
throw
thing.
it
So,
away,
so I think that's a good place to start, and we can go from there.
And how do you need to be, or want to be updated on a regular basis, or just as things actually take place?
I think Keats can update us on the smaller stuff, but you know, maybe, I mean, we only meet every 2 weeks now anyway, but maybe every other meeting or once a month or something.
See
Or if there's
how it
something
develops.
Okay.
Yeah,
if there's something that is
I'll kind of follow
you
your
know,
lead on that.
important that you feel that you need to come in for, obviously,
Okay.
that's
When you schedule those meetings, those on-site visits, are you expecting to go with other people from the board like we did last time?
I wasn't expecting to start out, because, like I said, I'm hoping to learn as much from these individuals as
Yeah, yeah,
anything
yeah.
else, and, you know, so maybe that won't be
Yeah.
like, oh, here they come, sort of thing,
Yeah.
so.
okay. That sounds
All right, yeah, I think that's it for now.
Both
And,
are nice guys.
there's a snack, but, thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good
Brian.
evening.
Right.
Moving on to the groundwater. No. Moving
yeah,
on to the-
I forgot to print it out, that's why I was just tisking myself. I did email it to all of you. So you will
Right.
have it
My
in
phone's dead.
You can
Right.
look at
My
me.
phone's dead for once. That's why I'm
there.
doing it.
I did
That's
see
okay.
it.
Hang on, I didn't read it because I thought we'd have a copy. Is it on the prep email?
Yeah. There were 7.
Well, anyway, we're moving on to the groundwater protection ordinance compliance liaison job description.
The idea would be that you would review it and approve it if so if you wanted to. But we wouldn't post it for another month or so. You read it?
I looked at it at home. So, is there any progress from the planning board or the,
So we met with Kit and Sheldon, and we divvied up the tasks. They are taking the educational side of it. So
Right.
communicating with townspeople, communicating with the businesses that are in the area
so that
that,
has started then?
I believe so, that was the
Okay.
agreement.
All right. It sounded like we're not posting that position.
Well, I think the way, at
mean, our
least
ordinance-
Sheldon saw it was that position wouldn't start until January 1st.
Oh, okay,
And that then,
all right.
now, the select board is in charge of implementation of this, so you can decide that it should be posted earlier.
I wondered whether
I
that position be filled sooner, so they,
I thought we had talked at one point about that person working with
Them.
the Groundwater Protection Ordinance Committee to develop the guidelines and understand it, so the person was kind of steeped in it. So it makes sense to post it sooner,
that's what I was thinking.
but my question is also, how many compliance officers are we gonna have?
Well,
Are we not gonna have one?
Charlie's officially hired for 2 months, and at the end of the 2 months, you will have to decide if he needs to be here longer to do his task or not. Charlie is perfectly, he could apply for this
Yeah.
position as well if he wanted to.
So I'm sorry I missed the meeting when you discussed this, but why was that position, it sounds like you hired Charlie just to do the task of these 2 properties and not to look at any of the other ones that we had set in motion over the past 2 years. So I'm just wondering like why that decision was made, if you don't mind filling me in, and why that decision was made to hire him not as a general compliance officer, since we knew we needed it for this too.
Because you all decided to get somebody started on the junkyard compliance, knowing that this job is coming up, they are jobs that could merge together.
Okay.
And the reason we chose the 2 properties is because they're the most egregious.
Yeah,
Egregious, that's the word.
Is it not I mean,
but I mean, I guess I'm just saying like why, sorry to cut you off.
no, it's
I'm
okay.
just trying to understand like why say we're hiring you for 2 months just to do these properties instead of saying we are hiring you as the junkyard, we're hiring you as our compliance officer, we're gonna have you start with junkyard, and we're gonna have you start with these 2 properties because they're the most compelling.
One was not far enough along at the time. What sort of timing, really?
I mean,
And is there any reason we can,
I mean, the only reason I'm worried is like we've got Charlie started the job, and if he thinks I'm only want to do this for 2 months because that's what the job was, and now we're gonna have to hire somebody else to do the next junkyard stuff.
could we put it out
He
to,
might, maybe he'll
could
continue.
we put it out and then maybe
Yeah.
ask him if he'd be willing to apply for this and add it onto his plate and then make it one position if
Yeah.
we so decide to go with,
And keep going with the junkyard
Sure.
stuff that
And-
we've started.
and personally, I don't think that his task is gonna be completed in 2 months. I just
I don't think so.
I mean, that'd be really awesome, but I don't see that happening.
No.
Especially the wrong 2 months of the year.
I think the idea is that it would meld into the other compliance position, which at the time that this was posted, which was 3 months ago, and he was the only applicant.
Yeah.
So
And
we
the other,
posted it at the end of May,
Yeah.
I think.
and just because the groundwater protection ordinance takes place January 1st, doesn't mean that somebody couldn't be meeting with
Sheldon and the
Sheldon
group.
and the
Yeah.
group to get some knowledge on it before January 1st, so that they hit the ground running.
Yeah.
You'd
So
have to-
was his job description specific to those 2 properties, or was it just that's what we charged him with starting with, i.e. could we just also say we'd like you to look
I
at this as
thought
well?
it was about everything, but
I
I
don't
missed the
remember the
part
job
when you had the
description being specific
conversation
to that.
with him, so I wasn't
Um,
here for that.
Can we
Is-
just ask him what his thoughts are on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like
Well,
to
if
do
the job
that.
description is to be a liaison, a code enforcement liaison, I think this could fall under his purview.
Yeah, but it might not all
One of the
fall under
reasons
his
he took
purview
the
5
job
hours.
is that
a
it
week.
was part-time
Correct.
and temporary, so, it's, maybe he would, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay. And maybe we wait another month and see how he likes what he's doing, and then, or
Fingers
another couple
crossed.
weeks, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
we talk to him over the next couple weeks and say, you know, could you let us know at some point if this is going well and you want to continue with this, and maybe take on this other task, I don't know.
When you guys had a conversation with him, was he aware of like the broader scope of the kind of work we've been doing beyond these two specific properties?
We did talk about
He
that.
is aware of it,
He's aware of
yeah.
all the
Yeah, I
layers
think
of.
he just
yeah.
said I think he just
Yeah.
said that he was aware and that he was going to go through the list of the
Yeah,
properties.
starting
that-
with these two.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of just like whittle
Okay.
through the
Those-
list. I think
so-
that's exactly what he said. Actually.
It's a strategy that it's, our lawyers approved this step of doing the top two, and then you go down.
No, I know, I remember all of that, I'm just thinking about momentum, like we are well into, like, people sitting with letters that we sent out 3 years ago.
Yeah,
And I understand starting with these two biggest ones because they're the most challenging and have the potential for the biggest impact, but
And we can
it just seemed like I'd love to see the,
I think there's focus too, and maybe once you get those two rolling, maybe then you can take on another one.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I
go
just
to the
don't- I
next
think
tier.
I think if you start with 10 or whatever the number
No,
is,
no.
then it's really it's not a 5-hour.
As long as
week
it's
job at
within
that
his
point.
purview to do that.
Okay.
Can't remember anything that said it's outside of his purview.
He
Okay.
did. I mean, he seemed like
Okay.
I don't.
I think he's,
To me, it didn't seem like he was.
he was talking about it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he was kind of had that in mind.
Okay.
So the groundwater protection job description was developed in the last week with Sheldon and Kit, so it's only just been created. Is it the same job? I don't know. I mean, it certainly can be, but I'm not sure, you know, so do you wanna post it, or that's up to you guys?
I think Charlie's already drinking from a fire hose when it is to learn about the DES junkyards. To add on the groundwater protection enforcement is gonna be a lot. It's untenable for 5 hours a week, I would say.
Yeah, it's an addition,
I would
it's
say
an
it'd be a
addition,
5-hour week addition.
at least.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not the one doing the job. I'm sure it's different for everybody. But
And I know that Kit and Sheldon view their role in terms of educating the community as a volunteer thing that should happen over the next 4 months. I think you could absolutely hire somebody sooner. We'd have to figure out where it's gonna come from budget-wise.
Where did you, what date did you talk about posting?
You know, if you posted it October 1st and,
That's probably fine.
you know, maybe you get somebody, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it was months before Charlie stepped up.
and we can also ask him if he has any interest in this.
Yeah, I think I like
Especially-
that, Charlie.
Especially once he, like I said, maybe in a few weeks he says, okay, I'm getting, you know, not that in a few weeks he's going to be an expert on what he's doing now, but you're saying he might have, say, this is something I want to do, or now that this is enough for me.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
But I think it makes sense. I mean, the groundwater protection is largely focused on businesses, and
Yeah.
Charlie's
Oh, I
doing
think it
is-
definitely,
There's a huge
you know, some point in the
development.
future
Right.
would make perfect sense to have this joined. It's just, if he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't want to do
Right.
it.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
And it was the timing.
Yeah,
yeah.
so,
Well, he'd be our first choice, but I think October is fine to post it.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you need to motion or anything to approve that job description? Is that generally, this is a new position?
I don't know.
Have we already had a vote to create the position?
Did we?
I don't know, I move that we accept the job description for the groundwater ordinance compliance liaison as presented.
And-
And it be posted in October.
I mean, I'm sure that,
We need a second.
second
Okay.
discussion, I'm sure that they will, you know, have, I actually, hey, look, glad we waited till after.
Perfect.
That they'll have a list of businesses and all that, so that'll be a huge step done, and, but, you know, just going, like, reaching out to all those businesses, talking to all those businesses, continuing to talk to them if they need to fix stuff or change stuff or whatever, that to me seems like it's gonna, you know, that's pretty time consuming, I think.
I think that's a.
Well, it's gonna be
I mean-
front loaded definitely because you have
Oh,
to,
yeah.
you're gonna be dealing with so many and then
But we-
it's only one at a time as new businesses start, so.
Yeah, and you gotta, I would think
Keep
you'd
up.
still have to check in, you know,
Check with
whether
them.
it's 6
Yeah.
months or every
Annually
year,
or whatever. Yeah.
whatever they decide, whatever we decide. But up front, I don't see, I mean, that seems to me like
No,
it
it's
could
gonna
be
be-
a
it's gonna
pretty
be a lot.
heavy.
Yep.
But
overtaking.
maybe,
But
but
maybe
maybe
it's-
it could be a shared position too,
And maybe it's something that,
for the first year.
that just like with the, well, not just like with the junkyards, but like similar, like you gotta start somewhere, maybe start with, you know, pick out 25 businesses you're gonna contact, get them rolling, in a couple weeks do 25 more,
Yeah.
I don't know, something like that. But, because that feels like if you sat down one day and
Did
had to reach out to
Maybe we should
200.
invite Sheldon and Kinnon to present
What
what
they're
they're planning
thinking,
for
yeah.
education. That might
Are
be
they,
fun.
are they responsible for creating a list of businesses?
They
are,
talked about it
yes.
at
Where's
the
the,
meeting that I was at
Okay.
2 meetings ago.
So do we
2
wanna
months
have the
ago.
job description now,
their-
or we're still kinda thinking about
their
exactly how it's
agreement
gonna
is that
fall
they.
out?
I think the job description's gonna be the job description, it's just a matter of,
Yeah,
Just
job
simply
description's
combine them
pretty
later if we
generic.
want to?
yeah,
So their responsibility is to compile a list of businesses, write, design educational informative brochure, draft a letter to all Tamworth residents to share the goals and timelines, and check with LRPC. Our job, my job, our job, was creating a job description for the compliance agent to be posted in mid-October, reach out to nearby towns to see if any compliance folks are interested in picking up another town, and researching RSAs related to enforcement processes. So I actually got a great sort of enforcement protocol recently that I shared with Sheldon and Kit. So we're moving, our section's definitely moving. For all I know, they've written every, you know, I don't know if they've done or not. But if we invite them in to share what their work is, then.
Alright, so we have a second.
yep,
Yeah.
that was discussion.
That was discussion.
I seconded, or,
You both did it at the same
We
time,
seconded.
yep,
Roll call vote.
there, yes.
Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes.
So this is to put out the job report, just to approve this.
Accept.
Approve the job,
description.
accept the
Approve
job
the job
description.
But we're not putting it out.
And
yet.
post, and I said
And
post it in
In
October, that was part of the motion.
Roberts, yes. Moving on to,
Annie's
yeah, I'm. Moving on to the New Hampshire Public Deposit Investment Pool with Annie Burke.
Thank you. I'm very sorry it was late. I think the heat got to me
We-
today and my brain went out the window.
We've got plenty to do, so you're.
Okay. I don't know if Keith's trying.
We didn't talk about
You
anything.
skipped it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
you skipped
great.
it.
So, in consulting with Bob Seston, we decided that after Meredith Village Savings Bank offered us this great interest rate, we would stay with them. But on the Conservation Commission small account, which has about $76,000 in it, Meredith Village was keeping us at 1% on that account. So we've decided, at Bob Seston's suggestion, to open an account at NHPDIP for the Conservation Commission and move that money over to get a really good interest rate, 5+% on that. And the thought is, we'll get our foot in the door there and have that account set up so that in the future, if we want to move more accounts there, we'll already have the understanding of how it all works.
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
it'll be easy just to add more if we want. So I thought that was a really good suggestion on Bob Seston's part. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and it's in the process already. It's just a small amount of money, it's not a big deal, but what needs to happen is it needs to be in the meeting minutes today that, so NHPDIP requires that the meeting minutes say that we are going to open an account with them, and that my full name and Amy Barrier's full name, because she's my deputy treasurer, are in the meeting minutes saying that we are approved to open this account, and we will both have full access to the account. And I think that's all it has to say.
I think that's right. Did it need to be your addresses or just
No,
titles and names?
Just our titles,
Okay.
right?
But there's
Our names, our titles, and that that it is approved that we can go ahead and do this.
Open the account and have full access.
But
Okay.
there's no vote, is there?
There's
No,
there
because
doesn't
you've already
need to
got
be a
authority
vote.
to do it.
No, it's really
Yeah.
just to
No,
get
it's
the.
just that
Yeah.
NHPDIP requires that it's in the meeting
Yeah.
minutes, and that's why it was important for me to come here and
Okay.
make sure
So I
that
have
that
just
was all
typed
set.
it in.
And I
Accomplished.
think that's all that we need to do to take care of
Well,
that.
they need to vote on the investment policy that was presented a few weeks ago.
Okay, and that wasn't to do with me, that was Bob Seston's thing, right?
Yeah, and I just somehow did not get a few of these things printed out, my apologies. Again, that was, I believe, did I email it to you? Maybe not.
No, I don't even think that's
All
an
right,
email.
you have received it, and I assume you have all read it.
I read it at the last meeting, pretty
Yeah.
sure.
It was presented at the last meeting, and basically it's the exact same investment policy that adds a sentence that allows the town of Tamworth to open an account with PDIP. So, since you have received it and read it, I think you can motion to approve it.
I make a motion to approve the new investment policy as presented at the last meeting.
Second.
Is that a sufficient?
I think so.
Yep. And I've already told Nelson O'Brien that I'm doing this, and he said, great, and so that should all be fine.
Thank you.
Bear seconded.
Yep, roll call vote.
There, yes.
Schaefer, yes?
She hasn't read it.
I haven't read it.
Okay.
Can abstain.
I'm abstaining.
Okay.
Robert's yes, 3 yes with 1 abstention. I think. Thank you.
There was
Let's see
one
what
more
that's
thing.
Okay?
Oh,
Nope, that was it. That was it.
Perfect. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you,
And
Annie.
I'm sure that, I'm assuming the meeting minutes are signed, because they said they need them signed by something when I submit
Oh, we'll probably
them.
approve them at
Well,
the next.
normally it would be signed at the next
next
meeting.
meeting, which is 2 weeks from now.
Okay,
Well, I can get them signed earlier than that
Yeah.
if you need them to open the account, so,
it would be great, but if we have to wait 2 weeks, that's okay too.
Okay,
It's
okay.
not a big deal either way.
okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
We could
Thank
just
you.
have a special
I
thing
mean,
next week to just say.
you could just
yes,
stop
and
in
then-
and,
Do we need a vote on it though?
oh, a motion to accept the meeting minutes?
Yeah, no, right?
I suppose so.
Couldn't we, 3 of us just come in at one time, but we would really have to post the meeting?
We would.
Maybe we should just do
Well,
it
you
2
don't have
weeks
to-
from now.
Yeah, I'm
You
happy
don't
to do
have
it
to-
2 weeks from now, it's not that big
Yeah.
of a
I don't
deal.
think we'll lose that much interest in that time.
We're already losing it anyway.
That's true.
It's only money.
Okay.
Did you find it, Leanne?
I'm almost
Okay,
done
so-
reading it.
Moving on to the digital storage of deeds and
I
property
approve
cards.
of that, so.
You approve of which?
No, we're not going back. Your
Abstention like
No, I'm
that?
staying.
Of the investment policy?
I
Well-
just read it.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't your abstention just is to agree with
Yeah,
the
no, it
majority?
goes where it goes.
All right, we're good.
Okay, digital storage of deeds and property cards, this is a way of basically saving a lot of time. Avatar now has a ability to store deeds and property cards digitally. Somebody comes in to get those cards, they either ask us to physically walk into the vault and we make a copy, or we can print it out of the computer. So Emily and I have decided, we've checked the RSAs, it is legal to do this, that this would be a great way to save a lot of time.
With all that new shelving and storage in the vault that now we're not gonna use.
Well, all the property, I mean, eventually, I sup-
Just kidding.
So Keith, does this mean that
You still print one and put it in there, don't you?
well,
Or
see.
do you
the-
not even need to do
Well, see,
that?
the thing
No,
with
I
property
think that's
cards
it.
is you print them out every year, right? You
Yeah.
print out a whole set and file a whole set, because that's how you look at what the valuation is in a specific year. This way, you're adding them to the database as deeds come in.
Oh, I see.
So it would be
Okay.
many years before the whole set would be an online digital file. But it would be a significant savings.
And this makes Avatar the official system of record now?
It already is. I mean,
Well, so I work in data management,
Oh.
that's my life.
Okay.
And with engineering, and so if you have a print in a print drawer and that's your document of record, it doesn't matter what's in the database, that print is the document of record. That's what you go back to.
I don't know how to answer that question.
So that's my concern, is that if we I love having a digital document of record, or system of record, but my concern is that we have some
Don't
ambiguity
back up.
between which one is
The official.
official, and then if this is out of sync with the physical, which one trumps. And so that's my concern, is that having revision control and workflow document control, and a clear delineation of paper copies are archival and these are.
Can't answer that. I can't even begin to answer that. But there are essays that govern this, and I can find out the answer.
Cause it sounds like what you're saying though is we have to make a decision on the record, which we're gonna use as the,
Official.
In
or
my- yeah.
the reference point that's the official record.
What the official system of record is it Avatar, the digital system, or is it the analog paper records?
Yeah,
It can't be, if it's an avatar, it's that, and if it's not, it's paper.
Well, you can, but the
Because-
problem comes when you have records in both places. Like, you can take time
And if there's any
moving your
difference in
system
the
to a
record.
digital system, that's not, migrating your data to digital is
Nobody's suggesting we go copy 2,000 files into the digital system.
Nope, not
Yeah,
either,
okay.
but I'm saying that if you have it updated to the card,
Mm-hmm.
and it's updated in Avatar, and it has yet to be printed off and updated in the file records.
Well, once it's an avatar, you wouldn't print it off and put it in the file record.
Okay, so Avatar is
Avatar
becoming
would become
the system of
it's
record.
becoming it, but
But it would take 10, 20 years.
so
to
we're gonna
get
be dealing
there.
with two systems of record.
Yep.
Okay.
But as long as the digital always trumps the analog,
Oh,
should
I
there be a
see.
duplication
Gotcha.
of records?
Okay.
Oh,
So one can
okay.
trump the other.
Yep.
Okay.
So do we'd have to have a vote to which one would,
Oh, I don't know about that, I'm just, from a
Well,
logistic
let me pull
standpoint,
up,
you don't
let
wanna
me pull
have
up
two
the
systems of
RSA for
record.
next week, or
Okay.
2 weeks, and we'll,
it's not something that needs to be done sooner than that?
No, it's
No.
just trying to,
Okay.
And, so along those lines, it'd be interesting to see what the backup process is for Avatar, and what, you said it's a database, so I don't know if it's SQL-based, Oracle-based, is it cloud-based?
oh, come on.
This is
Hopefully
what I
this
bring to
soon-
this
I wonder
table.
if you're
Twice
gonna have
here.
to watch Ed's video to get that all again.
I can come in and work with you on it if you want.
Great, I'd love that.
Okay.
Sure. Pull up RSAs and give them to Steve.
Was there any
Last time I
sarcasm
opened
in
my
that?
mouth.
No, there was no sarcasm in that. I would love, happy to have that.
I just wanna make sure the town's all set with their records, should anything happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I deal with data losses for
Absolutely.
clients all the
No,
time
that's-
that
No,
don't secure their
love
systems.
that, yeah.
It's good knowledge to bring because none of us would have thought of that.
No.
Guarantee it. All right. So that'll be next meeting.
So we got,
Moving on to old business, town office entryway gable discussion.
so Richard would like to suggest, I'm speaking for him since he's not here, that we use one of the two logos that have recently been approved as the thing that goes on the gable.
One of the two.
There's a color one and a black and white.
We voted on that last meeting.
Didn't we vote on the color?
Well, the black and white is
Black
for
and white
like,
too.
Letterhead.
Letterhead.
stuff.
Or
Oh.
the building. I mean, one's I think a more old-fashioned, sort of traditional New England look. The color one's pretty.
well,
It
Collins,
would pop.
yeah. But,
Could we get like a?
could use some dressing up out there.
Could we get like a paper copy to stick up and stand by
Sure.
and look at it?
look at it for a while.
Sure.
I
Good
actually
idea.
really, I mean, that could be an eventuality, but I really like the other idea of having using that big public space as a rotating art exhibit. Just saying,
I'm old-fashioned. I must say that we put up the
logo.
logo, but that's just
My issue with the rotating art exhibit is you'd have to have somebody who would manage it and pay
Yeah.
for it. Because it would take some doing.
Yeah.
So, if somebody wanted to do that
I
and
don't.
cover the cost of.
Well, maybe the Arts Council wants to be part of this and write one of their grants to oversee that so that they're doing a different kind of community art, because they're really pushing for community art right now.
I'm open to whatever. I wouldn't have thought of that either. I don't know, but like if we were gonna decide between the color or non-color, I don't know. I maybe
We
the
can
non-color
get-
because it
we
is
can
kind
get
of
paper one printed of both.
not to down this building, but it is pretty bland.
Yeah.
So it's white. I mean, or right? It's white.
No.
Beige.
Beige. Okay.
It's beige, I think the trim is white.
I was
Yeah.
trying to think in my head.
I know, like,
It's
what
white
color is
here.
it?
Yeah. Anyway,
It's
so
like,
I don't know what would make more sense, but I would.
if we're gonna go with
I
the
don't really
logo,
have
I'd go with color.
Yeah, I would go color logo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I don't really, I think the community art's a better idea, but if we're gonna go with logo, I don't
Do
really
we have to
one
make a
doesn't-
decision on
care. I'm
this tonight?
completely fine
You
with
could put the
logo.
logo up and still have them apply for a grant, because
Is he gonna be here next week?
that could just be one of
No.
the pieces of art.
Right.
until
Oh,
they're
so
ready to
you're
go.
not saying paint it
No.
on there, you're saying hang,
Oh, yeah.
create it and hang it on there?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, great, well then we can have a community thing down the line.
Yeah.
Color logo it is.
Do
Color
we need to make a
logo.
decision?
I make a
I make a-
motion that we, go for it.
No, you had it.
I make a motion that we have a print made of the color logo to hang over the entryway.
Second discussion. What is the cost of that gonna be?
What is
Is
the
what
cost
was
gonna
the-
be?
Yeah.
What's the material?
I have no idea.
Well, are you
I
thinking
think-
just something to look at to decide, or are you thinking of?
No. I permanent. I
Yeah.
think they
Oh,
look
I
good
was
on the
talking,
color.
no, my motion was for the temporary ones, you could see it. I
Oh.
thought that's what you were asking for. I rescind my motion.
Well,
I
if you're
can
gonna get
price
a
them out.
sign company to make a signboard, you know, 3/4 inch plywood.
Right, that you could take up and down.
Yeah, then it would be several $100s.
Like you would print on, you know that it's sort of like plastic cardboard,
Well, maybe it's,
corrugated plastic
Oh, okay,
cardboard, you know what I
maybe-
mean?
yeah,
You could do that.
I have no experience with that. I
I
just
bet you
remember having
Minuteman could make
signs
it.
painted at the sign.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
sign
would
company.
be, that would be more than a couple hundred, I bet. I think a printed one like this big on corrugated plastic cardboard, you know what I mean? Would probably be 100 or 200 maybe. I
Maybe
don't
we
know.
get some quotes and talk about materials.
Yeah.
Sure.
You don't want it, you don't need to see it up there anymore?
No, I thought we were just good on the color. I thought we just voted on the color.
Okay,
Just
yeah.
vote on the color.
We voted
No,
on,
For color, yeah, but then do you want carved out of wood, routed, printed,
I think that's a
Plastic.
decision for.
hire a local artist to paint it.
right?
I will.
I don't think you paint it on though because it's not flat. It's like clapboards.
No,
No,
paint
no.
a sign.
No, it's not,
the-
it's flat.
Paint a
It's,
sign.
it's,
triangle.
it's plywood.
God,
The
there's
triangle.
so much I pay attention to this building. I don't
Over
even
the
know what color
entry.
it is.
Yeah,
I do think it should be temporary though, so that it can be changed out.
yeah,
Or not temporary, but
Yeah.
removable.
removable, for sure.
Okay, I'll find out prices of doing it different ways.
There's this guy.
Okay.
yeah.
Great.
I could get you a list of a few companies that do like lettering and signs and stuff.
Great.
But I don't know what area.
Yeah.
There's like
Gemini used to be, I don't know if they're still in business in Conway.
snow signs, sign one. Anyway, I'll text
Awesome,
that to you.
because you're into signs, huh?
I just know from lettering trucks.
Oh, yeah, oh, right. Okay, well, get me, awesome, thank you.
Moving on to
Okay.
the townhouse design update.
So, again, well, actually, should I be speaking for
I can.
Richard?
Sure.
Okay. Basically, he thinks that this is a really good design and would like you all to review it, discuss it, and ideally move to the next chapter of this project, which would be to have construction documents completed for this design.
So it's go to bid, go out to bid,
So
right?
then it could go out to bid, yeah. And it'll probably take a couple, I don't know, a week or two to do construction documents. Maybe.
Did he hear from David Grass?
No.
He was waiting to hear from him? He's not heard from
We've
him
never
yet?
heard back from them.
Yeah,
Okay.
so he did find out that the property line is 12 feet from the building.
Okay,
You know, there's a stone retaining wall.
right.
I don't know if that's what that,
Is that this, in the 3D?
I think so.
yeah. But that's not the property line. The property line is 12 feet exactly from the building, so
So that's more than we thought.
less.
Oh, it's less?
Yeah, the retaining wall is on Tamworth property.
Okay,
But there's room, I mean, there's room obviously for the you can see the brick vault.
I didn't expect it to, I don't know, maybe we had already talked about this, I didn't expect it to be like the, like split, you know, how there's like a landing and then it goes the
Yeah.
other direction. I didn't know, I like this, I think this looks good.
So this has the retaining wall being 10 feet from the edge of the building.
The only thing I'm not sure about, and maybe this was, maybe this is the only way that it can be done,
65, 8 inches.
is that, so the roof line is like flatter than the existing roof on the
Yeah.
townhouse. Do you think that'll have any, do you think that'll be, create any issues, or?
No.
I don't know much about building, just,
They were talking about something about snowfall.
Well,
Last time.
and there's been, Melanie was concerned that even now, when the snow slides off the townhouse roof, it, in certain instances, it will hit the Tamworth Inn before it hits the ground. I mean, it comes shooting off that metal roof. And so by adding this roof over the fire escape, we're gonna extend that.
yeah.
You mean the shooting?
Yeah,
I was actually,
we might shoot it right in the window.
I was just, my concern was that it wouldn't slide as well because it's flatter,
Oh,
but I don't know.
well, it's
I mean,
not
I'm sure
shingled,
what-
you see, it's
It's
steel.
steel, and plus it'll have some momentum from the upper roof,
Yeah,
but I don't know
yeah.
if that would be, create an issue, but I don't, I like the, I do like the looks of it.
Yeah,
And
I like the design as
I obviously
well.
like that it's the other direction.
And that's why we were hoping to hear from David Grass, I guess, but,
So do we need any
So-
vote to approve this?
well, we'd have to approve having some construction drawings
Oh,
done.
So that
you're
we could- so
approving
that
the
we would-
design to move forward to the next phase.
Yeah, yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the design presented so that we can have construction drawings done to move on to the next phase of the project.
Second.
Any discussion? Oh, this is, I have,
The chief had
So-
looked at these, right? Chief Colcord had looked at these and
Well, the engineer who designed them is at
okay,
least
never mind, that was
as
not a very smart
qualified
question.
as the fire chief to.
I just want, we were just talking about a lot about the egress route and the stretchers,
Right.
or the litter being able to make the turn.
I know, and we talked about that with the guy on site, and then he came up with this design, which
I'm just concerned that we don't have an answer to that question, that the litter is gonna be
Okay.
able to
make
that
that corner.
Maybe we should, make sure that Chief Colcord has,
Well, or we can talk to the guy who made these drawings, because he was aware of the,
Yeah, I
Sorry.
mean, Richard was, it's too bad he's not here,
So,
because he spent a lot of time.
so we're saying if someone,
no, I know,
Oh.
I'm not thinking about the litter, I'm thinking
Oh.
about the roof still.
oh, okay,
With the
Um,
312 pitch.
Well, I'm just thinking if I know we reached out a couple of times to the other property owner and have not heard back, but at the same time, if there's potential that damage is gonna be done with snowfall, is there a reason that wasn't the old roof like slanted this way following the stair?
yeah,
So that the snow would come off
yeah.
here just a little bit and then pitch down so it shoots off to the,
Yeah, and that was causing trouble, and that's why, one of the reasons we changed the design.
but I thought it was causing, I thought that the stairs now are switched in the other direction, so the snow would be shedding off, not where the stairs are coming down.
Right, but it was piling up, and we were having to put a piece of plywood over one of the windows of the townhouse, because the snow piled up so, at that point, and was causing water damage to the building. So that roof was not appropriate. I think the solution might be to put the snowbirds on the steel roof to keep the snow from sliding at all.
Are we still gonna get snow buildup at the bottom landing?
Well, it gets shoveled. I think that if you put them up there, you probably ought to put them the full length of the roof,
Yeah,
not just over the fire escape, if you put up the restraining.
would that roof have to then be shoveled?
what if you,
Well, I don't know that.
I know like a new structure, normally they're built, right,
That's
am I
what
right, so that
funnels the
you
snow.
don't have to shovel them?
Right. They're
Those
to a
edges,
certain
you know.
pounds per square foot.
But where this isn't older.
Yeah, yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
I don't know whether the steel roof solves that problem. I mean, if it were
It's
shingled,
those- It's not the
the
snow.
snow
bird.
would
Yeah, the
slide.
diverters.
The
Yeah.
diverter, what if you had a diverter up there so it's shedding the snow off to each side? And you could just get the span far enough so that it's shedding it, so it's not right in front of the,
I mean, I would think honestly, if money wasn't so much of an issue, you'd extend the roof all the way to the edge so that you were completely covered the whole way out. And you don't have to deal with ice or any kind of snow buildup.
The only thing that
Don't know
doesn't
what
solve
that
though is
costs.
it sliding into the neighboring building.
Right.
yeah.
Well,
On this side?
well, in the back,
Um,
back part of the
it wouldn't
townhouse-
matter in the back anyway,
Yeah.
but where the fire escape is, isn't that still?
Yeah, I'm talking about going towards the end
Yeah.
gable face of the building.
Yeah, but that we'd still have the issue of it
Mhm.
sliding into this building here,
Mhm.
I believe. Oh yeah, because you can see it in this picture
yeah.
where the back of the building is.
Yeah.
Not much though.
But could you do that, Carl? Could you have
Well, I don't know what you put up there to divert. Oh, you mean a real cricket?
no, I don't mean a cricket, I mean just the steel,
I don't think that would do it.
It would do it for water, but I don't think
Yeah,
it
it'll
would
do it for rainwater, but not for snow and ice. Snow and ice
Tear
would probably
it
tear it right off.
Maybe we should have the architect join.
I wonder if there's
so
a
you
way
can
of
ask
like,
questions or.
yeah, I wonder if there's a way of knowing if it's going to be an issue of it sliding into the building.
Oh, just talking to Melanie was the main reason,
She raised the concern.
that it was
well, she
hitting.
said that even now it hits the building on certain occasions, depending on the snow and ice
Yeah,
consistency. But, I mean, it goes into the parking lot on the other side.
yeah,
The parking lot though can't come
No, which is
back
fine.
and say, hey,
No,
you're
and so
damaged
it
my
goes
building.
it goes a long way off the roof. Anyway,
Alright, so there's a motion, but
I-
should I rescind my motion for now? Because,
we can vote it down. I don't know, I think that snow issue with a butter is not a small thing.
yeah, because we don't wanna build this and then have it become
And
a
then
big
have to
issue.
take it apart.
right,
And then have
right,
to spend a
okay,
bunch of
So
money to
can
change it.
yeah.
can we go back to the drawing, I mean, the rest of it looks great, except I think we have to either deal with that, or we have to engage the abutter in conversation so that we get a sign off somehow.
What
Yeah,
if,
I think,
what if the whole thing was moved to the back more?
well, I think it would then.
I know the door opening would have to be changed then.
I think he's trying not to block those windows.
Oh, I see. That makes sense too. Alright, I'm gonna
So we should, yeah, you wanna.
I'm gonna rescind my motion
Yeah, why don't we,
and rescind your second. Or
I think we should get a question to the engineer who designed it regarding the snow coming off there and hitting the Tamworth Inn, and
Yeah.
is there something we can do to mitigate that?
Yeah,
just put plywood against their building.
Or against their windows instead of ours?
And perhaps he should be invited to a meeting so that,
Well, if he's willing,
Yeah.
yeah.
but I mean, if not,
I
I
mean,
mean, you,
I mean, he can come on the,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
but you also know what the
I mean,
what the
yeah, we can also
concern is,
just
so
write
you
him a
can,
letter, or text
you
him,
can
or
share that.
phone call, or whatever. but-
I think we're gonna constantly have these conversations.
Oh,
If
okay.
he's not there to kind of just talk
Alright.
it through.
Yep.
All right,
The
Uh,
architect?
yeah.
I mean, to me, this is the only sticking point.
Yeah, well, and Steve mentioned the,
Yeah.
getting a litter out through that
Yeah.
door, which we brought that up with him
I
when
would
he
say
was on
that
site.
we make sure that that's solved,
Yeah,
and then the snow issue, we
Yeah.
gotta figure that out. To
Yeah.
make sure that it's not gonna be an issue, cause
Yeah.
I could definitely see building this, then next year,
Yeah.
having the Tamworth, especially if the side, what's the siding, was it like, is it,
on Tamworth Inn,
yeah, is it,
clapboards,
yeah, so if something got damaged,
yeah, or
from ice
window.
or whatever,
Yeah.
or window, then that could then be
Yeah.
a bigger issue we don't need to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so we will,
Invite the architect to, what, our next
We can,
meeting?
we
Next
can
Zoom
shoot
meeting?
these questions over, he can
Yeah.
Yeah.
think, and then
Yeah.
present.
Yeah,
okay,
So Richard's, so can you reach out to David again, since Richard's not here?
sure.
moving on to the transfer station fees update.
Basically, Becky educated me that well, there's two things that happened. One is that the select board does not have the authority to revise the fees unless a certain RSA, which I'm forgetting the number now, you may remember off the top of your head.
41:9.
Thank you. I knew she would. And that has to be voted on at town meeting.
We have to adopt that.
So who
RSA.
revised, so the fees have to be adopted at
The-
town meeting
No.
if we don't,
Both
if
the
we don't do
fees-
the RSA?
Both the fees have to be adopted at town meeting if you don't do the RSA. If you adopt the RSA, you can then do them with a public hearing going forward.
Okay. Well,
So it will be built into the
let's
warrant.
put the RSA to the warrant.
Yeah, so that's that update.
Yeah,
Well,
we
then
should-
we should probably up them a little extra just to make sure that by the time that all happens, we're gonna cover our costs.
Well, you can't change it until the town meeting.
So do we stand up at town meeting and go down through every one, or do we just have,
We should just
we have a
reassess.
proposal?
No, it's,
You can
it'll
have a
just be,
proposed
yeah.
fee
if
schedule.
you-
First
We
you
should
have to,
reassess all the fees at the same time.
yeah. And
Because
then
there was a couple
after
of things
that,
that brought
since
up.
you've adopted the RSA, then you can change the fees with
With
a
a public
hearing.
hearing.
with a public
And
hearing.
is, I know we talked about the, like, construction disposable, but not the construction as much as the
Demolition.
disposal of, the
Wedding
businesses,
The
the
venues,
Oh, right,
yeah.
right, wedding venues and that.
businesses, not to point them out, but yes,
Yeah.
the wedding venues.
How do we do
And
that?
what concern there was there.
Well, I think the best we can do is just talk to them. If we want to do that, we can.
We said at the
Talk
last
about
meeting
that.
we were gonna ask other towns, so that would've been like your listserv. Ask other towns if they charge businesses extra to bring big loads of household trash, essentially, and how they handle that.
Party trash.
We talked about, is there a way to make them recycle, help them recycle better?
But the action item was we were gonna contact other towns to see what they're doing about it.
Mhm.
And we also said we'd look to see if there's an industry standard.
The other, the other thing we have to, I think, partially remember too, is that not that it should matter, but the wedding venues are, they pay a pretty significant tax in town, so, I mean,
I think
more
that-
so than the average household, I would say.
But the issue
And
he
I'm not
was
saying
saying
that
was the
that's
recycling wasn't
basically-
getting done. That
Oh,
they were
I
bringing,
thought the issue was just the
well, it
amount
was
of
huge
trash.
amounts, but it also, the
Oh.
recycling was all mingled in with
Because if they
the,
had recycled, then obviously the amount would be less.
And it
Yeah.
causes apparently a bit of a disgruntled nature for the people around when they see and hear all that recyclable material just being tossed into the MSW.
They should just get a dumpster. That's the
Yes.
easiest thing.
So that last time.
It's
Yeah.
really not that expensive.
okay.
So we're done with transfer station fees, moving on to the administrator report. Remember there's a new, no, is there a new bank balance? Is that what it was? No, it was just the updated accounts payable and cash.
Yep, yeah. Bank balance is $3,746,579. The fixed fuel rates, we got $3.11 for oil and $1.48 for propane.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. I mean, it's not as much lower as last year's was. Last year was 169, which was way below what the rate was last year.
Mhm.
And it's just,
Yeah.
you pick a day and then you hope you're,
Right.
It went up since I picked the day, but,
What company is it?
Irving.
Or-
Yeah. Molten Borough has put in a request that the select boards meet on a quarterly basis, or a representative, i.e. town administrator, to talk about ways of saving money as communities, and he would pull in, I think Charlie wants to pull in 3 or 4 or 5 towns. And wanted to know if the select board was interested in having that happen.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And, we already talked about groundwater, so we're good.
Point
That's
of information, would the entire board be going?
No,
Come on,
no,
or
I
just
think
a
I would go as a
representative?
representative.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. That would be a
Moving
lot of
on
meetings.
to The signature file, I make a motion to approve the select board meeting minutes for August 24th, 2023.
Sure, second.
Roll call vote.
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve the non-public meeting minutes for August 24th, 2023 under RSA 91-A:3 2A as RSA 91, Session 1, RSA 91-A:3 2A Session 2, RSA 91-A:3 2E Session 3.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve
We just did that one. We
You
can
didn't
do
know
it
which,
again?
you didn't know which one I was gonna.
Oh, okay, you're right. I was hoping I could vote this time on it. Now that I read it.
I make a motion to approve the request to authorize building on a Class 6 road, map 405, lot 10,
Which has been reviewed and approved by
the planning board.
Right.
Okay, second.
Roll call vote.
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Before I say yes, they have to sign a,
That's what this is.
oh,
Yeah.
never mind. Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no.
That they will maintain the road.
That they will maintain the
They know
road.
that, yeah, no services. Yeah.
But that's not the,
It's included in it.
oh,
The wording is,
press to, oh. Okay.
So here's the title of the document, and it goes through it, and they vow to maintain the road.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you. I make a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $385,887.98.
Second.
Please.
$275,000 going to the school, $14,235 going to Health Trust, $14,157 going to the New Hampshire retirement.
Mm-hmm.
$12,064 going to Sanborn Head, $16,177 going to Action Ambulance, $8,098 going to Coleman Rental.
Thank you.
did you vote to approve the junkyard license?
We did not in this most recent,
To approve what?
We did.
We
just
talked-
now, but we did earlier in this session, right?
Did we have a vote then?
I'm sorry,
For the junkyard license
Oh.
approval.
I make it. No, we didn't.
We talked about it,
right, and so,
but now we have to vote.
yeah, well, or,
Okay, so I skipped that one because I thought we'd already voted on it, but we had not.
you did not, so you can,
I make a motion to approve the junkyard license application for map 215, lot 36.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Barry. Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. I make a motion to approve the payroll in the amount of $38,264.90.
Second.
The cash used to date. This is
We didn't vote on it. Didn't vote.
oh, sorry. Roll call vote.
Barry, yes. Schaefer, yes.
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. The cash used to date is $8,112,015.12.
Wow. Huh?
Select board update, Carl.
I went to the sewer commissioners meeting last week ago Monday. And I guess the latest with them is they have been in touch with the engineering firm that designed the system originally back in 2000. And they had an engineer there who knows
people obviously at DES. And so he's now in conversation with an engineer at DES to try to iron out some of their, you know, because DES keeps requesting things that are just, seem unreasonable. Like a new plan of the whole system
The as-built.
as built, which, yeah. So this guy is from the company that designed it, and he's now in conversation with DES, so that's good. Mark McConkey was also down at DES for another conversation and was asked to talk to them about this, and I don't think he had enough background, and so he kind of got steamrolled a little bit. But he could get, he could be helpful, I'm sure. You know, they continue to read the effluent meter, even though DES doesn't approve it. And it really is about 1,500 gallons a day for a system that's designed for 19,500. So it's, I don't think we're over capacity. They also are talking about the possibility of installing water meters, and maybe I mentioned it last time, and in conversation with the water company to see if they would be involved. We obviously wouldn't, the sewer commission wouldn't be using them to charge ratepayers. They would just be using them to satisfy DES. But if the water company got involved and they were installed on all the buildings the water services to, then they would probably use them for billing. But that would cost, to do the sewer system customers, it would be about $24,000. So they're hoping they don't have to do it, but if they do, they do. And that's about all from them. All from me.
Just wonder if that was a trick.
Trick question.
So just, I think it was last time, Richard announced that we did not get the Northern Border grant. The EPA grant is supposed to be announced this week, so not a lot of time left for that, but
Yeah.
holding breath. And apparently Richard did have a conversation with the Northern Borders rep, and it sounds like we are not a good fit, so we're not going to reapply. That was a question, if we were going to do that again. So hopefully we'll have some good news tomorrow, and that's it for me.
Worked on the personnel policy, and I'm looking ahead to Veterans Day so that we can hopefully get some more people involved in planning the Veterans Day ceremony. I know it's posted on the website still, the Veterans Committee, so it would be great to have some volunteers.
We have one volunteer. We need another one.
We could have as many as we wanted. It's really just to do those two events right now and to maybe do some maintenance, so.
And what does their volunteer work consist of?
Planning and preparing for and executing a Memorial Day celebration and a Veterans Day celebration at the least, and maintaining the area around the triangle around the memorial. What else, anything else we should do, you think, besides those two events and then doing the maintenance around the,
Off the top of my head, no.
yeah,
Did you locate the base for the wreath?
no,
Really?
no. Did you think that it got taken over to the rec
Oh,
barn?
I was told that Dearborn has it.
Oh. Randall?
Rendell.
Oh.
That's what I was told. I thought I said that. Well, I don't know.
You might have. I'll ask.
Who is on this committee?
There isn't one
There's
yet.
not one yet.
Well,
There's
one
me
person
and,
is
Oh.
Shauna Peterson has volunteered.
oh, okay, great. And Heidi Fails volunteered too.
So we have,
Yeah,
we've got it on the website that we'd like people
I
to,
don't know, I don't deal with the website, so I'm asking who's on this committee.
So it's just, right now it's me, Shauna Peterson just volunteered, and Heidi Fail helps out with Veterans Day. And with the wreath, you know, she makes the
Yeah.
wreath. Yeah. So we're trying to get more people.
Okay, I'll think about it.
Okay. Thank you.
That's
it for me.
Oh, she's starting on me. For some reason, I think we're still on Steve. I talked to Richard Roberts this week, and obviously today Page Hill was closed down for some pavement grinding and repaving of the areas that got undermined and washed out in the, I'm gonna say the May storm, but it was like the last day of April, I think, that night going into the 1st of May. I'm not exactly sure. So that's fixed up, and they finished late in the day today or early evening. I believe it's done. I'm not 100% sure on that, but the road is reopened. And I attended a CIP meeting last Tuesday, and yeah, it was last Tuesday, and everything is going well with that. We have, the next step is the
Public hearing,
public hearing
13th.
on the 13th of September at 6 p.m. I'm almost positive.
It is.
And the only question that was brought up that would, for me, being on the board, was that the truck that they're going to recommend for the maintenance department, well, it'll actually be for the highway department because the highway truck will go to the maintenance department. So actually it's being raced for the highway department. Richard had recommended to them that they do it half, I believe, half in 23 and half in 24, which obviously we're in 23, so they thought, well, let's recommend it for 24 and 25. But I think why Richard thought that is so that it could be purchased next year, in 24, I believe. But obviously we can't, there's nowhere to get it in this year's budget, the half of the truck.
Mm-hmm.
So they asked what we were talking about, the trust funds, that not trust funds.
There's an expendable trust,
The
but that's not probably,
well, they were asking
Undesignated
about,
funds?
yeah, well, no. Hold
there's
on,
the
let me think.
unassigned
The three
fund
funds
balance
the three funds that we set up though,
for 50,000
for
each.
50,000 each.
I'm not sure that's an appropriate use, they're not really intended for planned
they're kind of
purchases.
emergency
Yeah,
when the budget runs out, we really have.
They just asked about that, so.
yeah, I don't think that would, it'd be more likely.
Because right now, for 2024, I believe they're recommending, we might have got it just below 2 million.
How much is the truck?
80,000, 70,
76
70,000.
something.
I think it was like 36 and 36 or
The
37.
report's on the
37.
website, the draft report's on the website if you wanted to look at the exact amount for
Um,
review.
I can pull it up, but,
I think
so-
it's 78.
that was that was a question. Obviously, no matter, it doesn't really make any difference because they're recommending for half of it next year. So that's the only thing that really, just instead of doing
Which
it
half
this year,
is
next
that?
year, they'll do it next year and 20. What?
he made
So
a
which
bad
half
Which
of the
half
truck
of
are
the
they
part
gonna
of the truck
get?
you want, the back half?
Well,
or the
obviously we
front
can't buy it until they get the full amount, so that's why they were thinking to purchase it next year, they would somehow have to get the money,
Yeah.
we'd have to get the money, half of it, out of this year's budget,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I don't see why it makes any difference whether we spend the money, well, we wouldn't be spending the money this year, so if we want the truck next year, they could just put the whole thing in, but their
They
concern
have a
was
goal of
keeping
keeping it under.
keeping
Right.
their recommendation
Um,
down as low as possible, which it's very high,
Obviously,
very high.
however money is spent is your all decision. The audit is coming in and the unassigned fund balance is high. It's at 2.4 million. So, that is,
And that's supposed to be what percent?
it's supposed to be between 5 and 17%, it's probably at about 22 right now.
I
don't
thought
know
we
exactly,
used-
but
We did.
Yeah.
we did.
We used a good port to bring
The
taxes down last
2022
year.
audit, there was a large overrun from last year. And, I mean, it's great to have a solid unassigned fund balance, there's nothing wrong with that, but, you know,
Well, I think we'll
Just
be using
sit-
some of it up this year, or next year, rather, to offset. So anyway, that was the
Yeah.
big topic as far as obviously it all affects us, but that was the one topic that I discussed a lot with them.
It
Is
surprised me that it's that far along since, I wasn't sure we actually decided to buy a new truck or get a truck for Rick.
it's just their,
We had a
Well,
discussion
I
about it.
think we talked about the idea being that whenever the
Yeah.
town gets a new truck.
Right.
And I think Richard is saying, well, we can move this process along.
yeah, I think Richard kind of just
By a
brought
year
it along,
early.
which
Yeah.
it's his department anyway, so it's his
Yeah,
recommendation to the CIP that they recommend to us.
Okay.
And then we can differ, like when once they recommend to us, we can say, no, we don't want to do that, or yes,
Yeah.
we want to do that.
Yeah.
That's just their recommendation. But right now, I like looking into the future, and I'm sure it'll be higher each year because stuff gets added to it and bumped down the road. But like the next year's like 1.2 million, which I'm sure that will go up a lot. But it was like 2.2 million when we started that night, and we like whittled stuff down to get it down to.
Even with the bridge savings for next year for the Mountain Road Bridge?
I think so. We took out every year we put in $250,000 into the bridge capital reserve, right?
well, not this past year, we put in 50.
Okay, but they're recommending we put in 0 this year. Put in 250,000 for the Mountain Road Bridge, which we won't really need. So, I guess they could have done away with the Mountain Road Bridge and put it in either way. So we're instead of putting in $500,000 for bridges this year, we'll be just putting in 250 because we saved the money from the
Right.
Scott Bridge.
Yeah, that was a lot of money saved.
Yeah.
It's a big chunk.
So anyway, that's
Okay.
where we're at with that.
Okay.
Right.
I need to take notes.
So,
You did a
September
good job
13th at
of
6
that.
p.m., CIP public hearing.
Be there. It's
Be there or be square. Okay.
September 13th.
yeah. Public input. Yes.
I came over to try and explain what I was trying to type because my mind thinks faster than I can type when you were talking your personnel manual. I don't know if it's page 15, 18 of the old manual, but it's under holidays. And I know you added Juneteenth to probably your holiday list in the manual, but the police department is very succinct in how they take their holidays. They have 2 floating holidays and 10 stipend. Well, you added another holiday, so are they taking 3 floating holidays and 10 stipend, or are they taking 2 floating holidays and 11 stipend?
2 and 11.
I thought.
Because it wasn't discussed, I just wanted to make sure that that got changed, because they're very,
Didn't
Right.
Dana say that this year he was going to do 3 and 10? Didn't he sit here and...
well, however you change it in your policy, I don't know what you're
Okay.
doing this year, because it was never in the policy and
Right.
it didn't get changed,
Oh, okay.
so.
Alright, maybe.
I think he was doing that because we don't have it. It wasn't added yet. Yeah, 2 and 11.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So
And
2
then-
floating and 11.
Remaining, it's on page
State.
19 in the new draft. Police department holidays.
And then my only other question is, I'm sure you're aware that through the town nurse, she stated that we have COVID increasing.
Yeah.
And the county got hit hard on one unit. About 10 of their staff went down in 3 days, because this is a fast. When we had COVID in town federally, there were guidelines for employees, whether they tested positive or they didn't, or they were symptomatic or they weren't. The guidelines from the CDC are still basically pretty much the same: 10 days if you're unvaccinated, 5 out if you're vaccinated showing symptoms, and then 5 with a mask. But we were able to pay them with COVID money.
For that
Something-
time out.
Something to think about, because most towns had taken some of their ARPA and made it a COVID fund, because you have people that get sick that don't have sick days. Are you making them take their sick days? How are you doing it? How are you? And no offense, what's the counter plan if you have 4 people in your office go down at the same time? Because it's a very quick spreading, and the Tamworth nurse said that it's prevalent too. So what your workarounds are, something to think about if the county got hit pretty hard with their staffing,
Was that
all
the last
within
couple
4
of
days.
weeks?
Yeah, oh yeah. They had, what, you can help me,
It's 25.
25 total, and half of them were residents and half were staff, and it all occurred within a 7-day period.
But they reported today, ma'am,
Yes.
they reported today that it was properly isolated and it's okay.
Contained itself now.
And I also can report, related to the nursing home, that they had their CMS survey, and the part of the survey that governs the infection control passed with flying colors. So the issue with the people coming in and not properly following the protocols is over.
That's
So
great.
they did good on their survey.
That's great.
But just something to think about for your office staff and stuff, because if 4 go down in your office within a matter of 7 days, or if people have to go out, there's no COVID money anymore.
There's still some ARPA money.
Is there, thank you, Becky. Yeah, yes.
Yes, I'd also like to report some more county news. The delegation met today, and if you're aware that Commissioner Plash had resigned, and he was replaced today with a vote of the delegation with Honorable Bill Nelson.
Bill Nelson.
Bill Nelson. And also your county attorney, Michaela Andruzzi, has resigned today. Correct. And her deputy, I believe his last name is Blair, is going to take over that duty until, I assume, the next election.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
And I just have one other thing. One was the public hearing, but there are a lot of new notices on your webpage this week. There's another Household Hazardous Waste Day in October. There is a button-up workshop in September. I haven't sent them out via emails yet, because I usually send them out the week before. I'll put the email thing and send a blast email out to everybody, but there's a lot of stuff happening on that webpage right now.
That's good.
And if it doesn't get put in on your meeting notice, the Zoom link, all they have to do is go to the select board page, and the Zoom link is always
It's always
there.
there.
Okay.
Okay.
Just so you know, the Zoom link is always there.
Thank
And
you.
when it changes, I change it on the Zoom link on that board
Alright, so
page.
Linda's not on anymore, but I'll tell her that.
Thank you. Is there any other public input?
Hi, this is Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
hi.
loud
Hi,
and
hi.
clear.
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for maintaining the Zoom link. Really, I find it very, very helpful to know what the select board is up to. And thanks again for the work on Page Hill Road.
Thank you.
We'll let Richard know you said so.
They definitely had a long, hot day on the pavement today.
Oh my
I bet they
gosh.
did.
It was yeah, okay.
Thank you. Is there any other?
Bye-bye.
Is there
Bye-bye.
any other public input? Hearing no more public input, make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91-A:3, 2D, session 3
Second.
at
7:55.
Yeah,
8:56 p.m.
7:56.
7:56 p.m. Jeez, I'm
Thank
very happy
goodness.
about
And he seconded.
that. Roll call vote.
Very yes.
Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. We are now non-public at 7:56 p.m.
Candid camera.
Thanks for the reminder.
It's
I'll say it again.
8:10.
Make a motion to come out of non-public at 8:10 p.m.
Second.
Minutes are not sealed. Roll call vote.
Very yes? Schaefer, yes?
Prentice, yes.
Roberts, yes. 4 yes, 0 no. Motion to adjourn.
A little extra gusto tonight.
8:11.